Hello there, and welcome to the Sleepy Astronomer, a calm corner of the universe where every story begins slowly, and even creation itself feels like a lullaby. If you find peace in these quiet cosmic tales, subscribing to the Sleepy Astronomer helps this small universe of wonder grow, so more dreamers can rest beneath the same curious stars. Tonight, we travel back to the beginning, to the places where stars are born. Not fiery or chaotic, but quiet, glowing clouds called nebulae, vast nurseries of gas and dust floating between the constellations. A nebula begins as stillness, hydrogen, helium, and cosmic dust drifting for millions of years. But in that stillness, gravity begins to whisper. Tiny ripples of attraction pull the dust closer, forming clumps, then knots, and slowly, a core is born. Inside that gathering mass, pressure rises. The gas squeezes tighter, growing hotter with every breath of collapse. Atoms begin to move faster, colliding, merging, fusing, and then, in one quiet instant, a spark ignites. That spark is fusion, the birth cry of a star. The once dark cloud now glows from within, its light pushing back the dust that made it, carving patterns of color across the nebula's heart. What was once only gas becomes a sun, and around it, the leftovers, rings of dust and ice, may one day become planets, moons, and perhaps, life. You breathe slowly, imagining that you're drifting through that glowing mist, watching a star's first light flicker into being. There is no sound, only the soft hum of gravity and heat. Every atom in your body once passed through a place like this. Every heartbeat began in a star's light. So tonight, as you listen, remember that creation is never loud. It is quiet, patient, unfolding one shimmer at a time. Stars are not born in fire, they are born in stillness. This is the Sleepy Astronomer. And tonight, we'll float gently through the cradle of the cosmos, to witness how dust becomes light, and how every beginning starts with a single breath of gravity. You close your eyes and feel yourself lifted beyond the boundaries of the earth, beyond the comfort of the sky you know. In this quiet ascent, the blue fades into deeper shades, until the dark velvet of space wraps around you like a soft blanket. It is a silence that hums with possibility, a stillness that feels alive. You are not moving hurriedly, not tumbling through chaos. You are floating, guided by something slow, ancient, and knowing. Before you, vast clouds stretch and shimmer, a nebula, a nursery of stars. Its colors are subtle, gentle blues fading into warm ambers, soft reds brushing against silvery edges. They do not blaze like fire, instead, they glow as if breathing, pulsating with patience. You notice the tiny movements within, almost imperceptible, wisps drifting, twisting, brushing against one another, stirring ever so slightly as if the universe itself is sighing. These clouds are not empty, though they might seem so at first glance. Each strand carries countless atoms, dust particles smaller than a grain of sand, remnants of stars that lived long ago. You imagine their journeys, the slow drifting through space, perhaps for millions of years, gathering momentum, floating silently until now. You feel a sense of intimacy with this timeless motion, as though you could reach out and touch the history woven into every particle. As you drift closer, you feel the density shifting. Some parts of the nebula are lighter, almost translucent, letting the faint light of distant stars pierce through. Others are denser, heavier, dark curtains hiding secrets that will one day be revealed. You notice the subtle currents, the gentle flows within the cloud, carrying with them warmth and cold, motion and pause. You feel drawn to them, understanding without words that these currents are the first gestures of creation, soft nudges that will guide matter into form. Your body feels lighter here, as if the laws that press down on Earth no longer weigh you. You sense gravity, but differently, a gentle pull toward the gathering clouds, not forceful but insistent, patient. It draws particles together, coaxing them from lonelier paths into tiny clusters, which will eventually become seeds of stars. You imagine the invisible hands of gravity moving through the nebula like a slow, melodic dance, shaping and bending, never hurrying, always precise. Even in this calm, you can sense energy beginning to stir. Not the violent energy of explosions or collisions, but something subtler, the faint warmth of compression, the whisper of atoms nudging closer, of dust catching light and glimmering faintly. There is a rhythm here, slow and steady, like a heartbeat echoing through the void. You let yourself follow that rhythm, matching your breath to its quiet pulse, noticing how it seeps into every thought, softening edges and slowing your mind. Colors shift as you watch. Translucent blues deepen to velvety purples, reds spread like gentle embers across the dark fabric. You notice how light scatters through the cloud, bending around dust, creating halos and glows. Each glow tells a story, not in words but in sensation, a sense of movement, of energy waiting, of patience. You feel the universe is speaking in a language older than any human voice, one that resonates directly with your heart. Time seems different here. It stretches and lingers, almost tactile, as if each second holds layers of moments within it. You realize that in the nebula, nothing is rushed. The formation of stars, the gathering of matter, the slow compression of hydrogen and dust into a core, all these processes take place across eons. You feel this slow unfolding as a comfort, a reminder that even the grandest acts of creation are measured and deliberate. You are learning to breathe in sync with this cosmic tempo. Your gaze drifts to the tiniest wisps of dust, catching the faintest glimmer of starlight. Some have traveled for billions of years, only to arrive here, mingling with clouds and other particles. You imagine their silent collisions, their gentle bonding, and feel a strange kinship with these tiny travelers. They remind you that everything in the universe is connected, even what seems small or insignificant contributes to the grandeur of creation. Around you, the nebula hums quietly, not with sound, but with presence, a vibration you sense in your chest and bones, like a lullaby written in the fabric of space itself. You feel part of this gentle symphony, floating among clouds of gas and dust, witnessing the earliest movements that will one day ignite light. The quiet anticipation is comforting, meditative, like the moment before dawn when the world holds its breath. As you drift further into the cloud, your mind begins to notice patterns. There are pockets where matter gathers more densely, folds and curves that suggest future stars. You sense the invisible scaffolding of gravity, the way it gently shapes space, nudging atoms together in preparation for something luminous. You are patient here, absorbing each detail, feeling the slow accumulation of potential energy that will one day burst into radiant brilliance. Even as you watch, you are aware of the nebula's vastness. It stretches beyond your perception, folds upon folds, layers upon layers, each with its own rhythm, each with its own quiet dance. You feel the immense scale, but without fear. Instead, it brings a sense of humility, of awe, and of comfort. You understand that creation is vast, but that it is gentle and intentional, flowing like a slow river that never rushes, yet reaches everywhere. Your thoughts settle into this calm, and you realize that the nebula is teaching you something essential. That waiting is not empty, that stillness holds power, that the unseen and the quiet are the beginnings of everything. You allow yourself to linger in this moment, absorbing the soft glow, the gentle motion, the patient energy of matter preparing to become something more. And as you rest in this stillness, you feel a faint warmth, almost imperceptible, beginning to gather at the densest points of the clouds, tiny hints of energy that will one day grow. You notice it, and you sense that this quiet accumulation is only the first step. Something is awakening, slowly, in the heart of the nebula, a gentle promise of light waiting to be born. In this hush, you drift a little closer to that warmth, feeling the slow pull, the soft hint of what comes next, the first breath of hydrogen ready to stir, the faint beginnings of energy that will soon ignite. You drift gently through the nebula, letting your senses expand into the vast emptiness. The darkness here is not heavy or oppressive. It is soft, embracing, a velvet canvas for the universe's quiet artistry. Amid this darkness, you notice the smallest, lightest particles moving with serene purpose. Hydrogen, the most abundant element, drifts freely, almost invisible to the eye, yet utterly essential. You realize that every atom carries a history older than the stars themselves, born in the first moments after the universe began. As you follow the flow of these particles, you notice their gentle motion, drifting, colliding, sometimes slowing, sometimes accelerating. There is no urgency, only a persistent, quiet curiosity in their movement. Each hydrogen atom seems to whisper secrets of the cosmos, hints of energy waiting to awaken, subtle hints that the universe itself is stirring. You feel yourself becoming attuned to this soft rhythm, your own breath slowing to match it, harmonizing with the pulse of creation. Hydrogen is simple, yet powerful. It carries potential energy like a coiled spring, unassuming but capable of extraordinary transformation. You watch as clouds of hydrogen begin to cluster in tiny pockets, invisible tendrils reaching toward one another. It is gravity at work, slow and patient, pulling atoms together in a delicate, almost intimate dance. You sense how each gathering is a heartbeat, a soft drum in the vast silence, hinting at what may come, the gentle beginnings of a star. In the denser pockets, the hydrogen moves more deliberately. You imagine the atoms brushing past one another, nudging, whispering, and waiting. Each interaction is a quiet negotiation, a soft negotiation of space and energy. Even in their smallness, there is intention. You feel as though the nebula itself is breathing, inhaling through these hydrogen clouds, holding them close, letting them gather strength before exhaling them outward in slow, deliberate motion. Light interacts with these clouds in subtle ways. When it brushes against the denser hydrogen pockets, it scatters softly, creating faint glows and shadows. You notice how the light bends and shifts, highlighting the gentle contours of the clouds. This interplay creates a quiet beauty, as if the universe is painting with invisible brushstrokes, shaping forms before they even exist. You feel the elegance of this process, the patient artistry of forces acting over vast expanses of space and time. Hydrogen's simplicity is deceptive. You feel its weightlessness, but you also sense its potential to create worlds. Each atom holds within it the promise of fusion, the seed of light that could one day burn brightly for millions or even billions of years. You linger near these clouds, aware of the slow accumulation of energy, the gathering of potential that will someday ignite, soft and steady like the first hint of dawn. You notice smaller clumps of hydrogen forming within the larger clouds, areas where gravity has pulled atoms slightly closer together. These are the precursors of protostars, though you cannot yet see their full shape. You feel the tension in these regions, the gentle compression, the quiet anticipation. There is no rush here, only patience, a persistent, almost meditative compression that will eventually reach the critical moment for ignition. Temperature plays its part in this delicate dance. In the vast stretches of the nebula, hydrogen is cold, almost still, allowing atoms to move slowly, to gather carefully. You feel this coldness as a soft caress, a necessary calm that gives the clouds time to organize, to form the delicate structures that will one day host radiance. You notice that in this stillness, every tiny motion becomes meaningful. The universe seems to breathe through these atoms, and you are part of that rhythm, inhaling with the clouds and exhaling in sync with their quiet pulse. As you drift closer to a particularly dense pocket, you feel the faint tug of gravity, subtle but undeniable. Hydrogen gathers more densely here, creating a gentle concentration of potential energy. You sense the atoms communicating in imperceptible ways, nudging one another closer, soft collisions that release tiny bursts of heat, hints of the energy that may someday ignite fusion. It is a slow process, a meditation of matter and force, unfolding over millions of years, and yet you feel intimately connected to its rhythm. The motion of hydrogen is never chaotic. Even when particles swirl or shift, there is a quiet logic guiding them, a natural order that is invisible yet profoundly real. You observe the gentle spirals and eddies in the clouds, tracing patterns that suggest future rotation, subtle indications of how angular momentum will shape the birth of stars. These patterns are the language of the cosmos, delicate and intricate, speaking directly to your sense of wonder and calm. Some hydrogen atoms drift alone, solitary travelers through the vast nebula, while others cling in clusters, forming tiny nurseries of potential light. You sense the balance between isolation and gathering, the quiet tension between independence and connection. Both are essential. Both are part of the slow choreography that leads to creation. You imagine yourself floating among these atoms, feeling their gentle tug, their delicate dance, understanding how even the smallest particle contributes to the emergence of something brilliant. As you continue to observe, you begin to notice a faint warmth in the densest regions. It is imperceptible at first, almost ghostly, yet undeniable. This warmth is the first hint that the gathered hydrogen carries more than mass. It carries energy waiting to awaken. You feel the quiet expectation, the soft breath of the nebula as it holds these atoms in anticipation. It is as if the clouds themselves are breathing, inhaling patience and exhaling the promise of light. Time seems irrelevant here. The hydrogen moves slowly, gracefully, without hurry. You are suspended in this stillness, aware of the immense patience required for creation. Every motion, every gathering, is a gentle reminder that even the grandest events in the universe unfold gradually, deliberately, with quiet care. You feel yourself mirrored in this rhythm, your own thoughts slowing, your body softening, your mind attuning to the slow pulse of the cosmos. And as you linger in this meditative observation, you sense that these clouds of hydrogen are not merely waiting, they are preparing. Their potential is gathering, subtle yet powerful, like a whisper that grows louder with each passing moment. You understand, intuitively, that soon these particles will begin to transform, to ignite, to take the first small steps toward the birth of a star. Here, in the gentle embrace of hydrogen clouds, you rest, feeling the slow accumulation of energy, the patient gathering of matter. You sense the quiet anticipation, the calm before the spark, and the soft, enduring rhythm that connects you to every atom in the nebula. You float gently among the clouds of hydrogen, letting your awareness expand to include the tiniest details. There, barely visible, glimmer faintly the grains of cosmic dust. They are small, delicate fragments, remnants of stars that have long completed their journeys. Yet in their fragility lies resilience. Every speck carries with it the memory of creation, the echo of explosions and light that shaped the universe billions of years ago. You feel a soft reverence for their quiet persistence, floating endlessly through the void, waiting for their next purpose. As you drift closer, you notice how these dust particles interact with the hydrogen around them. They do not merely drift aimlessly, they are guided by gravity, brushed gently by radiation, nudged by currents of gas. Each tiny collision is a gentle communication, a whisper of connection in the silent expanse. You imagine the dust as dancers, moving in slow, deliberate patterns, invisible to the eye but deeply significant in shaping the future of stars. Some particles are smooth and almost crystalline, catching faint glimmers of distant light, refracting it softly. Others are irregular, jagged edges that scatter energy in unpredictable ways. You feel the quiet beauty of this diversity, the understanding that every shape, every path, every tiny spark of matter contributes to the cosmic story. The dust is not merely filler. It is the scaffolding, the seeds, the dreams waiting to take form. You notice the dust beginning to gather, drawn toward denser pockets of hydrogen by the gentle pull of gravity. Clusters form slowly, almost imperceptibly, creating regions where potential begins to concentrate. You feel the patience of the universe in this process, the careful, deliberate manner in which matter is coaxed into alignment. Every particle seems aware of its role, not in any conscious sense, but through the elegant dance of natural law. You breathe with these movements, your body syncing to their gentle rhythm. Some of these dust grains are extraordinarily old, remnants of stars that exploded in ancient times. You imagine their long journeys, traversing interstellar space, untouched yet shaped by countless forces, now merging with clouds of hydrogen and other dust. You feel connected to these ancient travelers, as if their history has seeped into your own consciousness, whispering lessons of endurance and patience. You sense that creation is a cycle, not linear but circular, returning fragments of the past to forge the future. Light moves through the nebula differently around these particles. It scatters, glows softly, and creates subtle halos and shadows. You watch, entranced, as these visual echoes give the impression that the dust itself is alive, a shimmering network of potential. Some regions glow faintly as they reflect the distant star's light, while others remain shadowed, secretive, hinting at hidden processes. You feel a deep calm, recognizing that both illumination and darkness are essential in this quiet story of creation. The dust is more than decoration. It is the foundation for complexity. You notice tiny clumps where hydrogen and dust intermingle, the beginnings of denser regions that could one day become the cause of stars or even the birthplace of planets. Each clump hums quietly with energy, though it is subtle and gentle. You sense the tension in these pockets, a quiet anticipation, as if the universe is holding its breath, waiting for the first spark of transformation. You drift among these clumps, feeling the slow currents that move both dust and gas together. Some currents are subtle, almost imperceptible, while others have a faint swirling motion, hinting at the future spin of protostars and their accompanying disks. You feel the elegance in this motion, the gentle coordination between countless tiny particles, each following its path yet contributing to a larger design. It is a meditation on connection, a reminder that even the smallest elements can shape something vast. Temperature here is delicate. Dust shields the hydrogen from radiating too much energy, allowing pockets to remain cooler and more stable. You sense the balance in this quiet temperature regulation, the gentle harmony that enables matter to gather without chaos. The nebula itself feels alive in this balance, breathing softly, adjusting currents and densities, shaping matter with patience and care. You find yourself mirroring this calm, letting your own breath and thoughts slow to match the rhythm around you. Some dust grains carry heavier elements, remnants of stars that once burned with great intensity. You imagine the story each particle could tell if it could speak, a tale of fusion and light, of collapse and explosion, of transformation and renewal. You feel the resonance of these stories in your chest, the subtle understanding that creation is built upon layers of history, a continuum of life, death, and rebirth across the cosmos. Even as you watch, you notice the interplay between light and shadow growing more complex. Dust shapes the nebula's appearance, creating regions that glow softly and others that seem to retreat into silence. You sense that this visual poetry is more than aesthetic, it is functional. By guiding light and energy, the dust participates actively in the processes that will eventually ignite stars. You feel a quiet awe at the intelligence of these natural patterns, subtle yet profound. Gravity continues its patient work, pulling dust into ever denser clusters. You sense that some of these clumps may eventually form planetary systems or the envelopes of young stars. The motion is deliberate, slow, rhythmic, and you imagine the universe itself as a gentle conductor, orchestrating a symphony with a precision that requires patience measured in millions of years. You feel your mind expanding with this perspective, understanding that time itself flows differently on this scale. As you float, you notice the gentle shimmer of dust illuminated by the faint hydrogen glow. It is a light that does not rush, that does not burn intensely, but lingers, soft and warm. You feel comforted by its presence, as if the universe itself is reassuring you that creation need not be hurried. Every particle, every tiny clump, every soft glow carries purpose and potential. You drift in this meditative observation, letting your awareness soak in the quiet harmony around you. And as you linger among these clouds of dust and hydrogen, you begin to sense a subtle energy building at the densest points. It is not yet light, not yet fire, but a gentle, almost imperceptible stirring. You feel that something new is quietly preparing to awaken, the cause that will one day become stars, gathering both hydrogen and dust, patiently accumulating the potential that will soon ignite into radiance. You float deeper into the nebula, drifting past clouds of hydrogen and clusters of dust that shimmer faintly in the darkness. The light here is soft, diffused, a gentle glow that seems to breathe with the movement of the gas and dust around you. There is a rhythm in this quiet space, a pulse that is subtle yet persistent, carried by an invisible hand, gravity. You sense it before you see it, the slow, inevitable tug that shapes the universe in ways both delicate and profound. Gravity is everywhere, though you cannot see it. It is not abrupt or forceful, but patient, persistent, subtle, a soft whisper that guides the motions of every particle. You feel it as you drift, a quiet suggestion, pulling hydrogen and dust toward one another, forming the first threads of concentration. Each atom responds, almost instinctively, gathering in tiny pockets that will one day grow dense enough to ignite the spark of a star. You feel your own body responding to this rhythm, your breath slowing, your mind attuning to the patient dance of attraction. You notice the clouds beginning to shift more deliberately under gravity's influence. Areas that were once diffuse now fold inward gently, creating faint depressions in the fabric of the nebula. You sense that these depressions are not empty, but full of potential, like a soft pause in a song waiting for the next note. Tiny motions cascade inward as particles drift toward these denser regions, nudged softly by the unseen pull. You realize that gravity is not merely a force, it is the quiet architect of creation, shaping the earliest structures with elegance and care. Even the smallest particles respond. Dust grains that once floated freely now follow gentle arcs, drawn toward the densest concentrations of hydrogen. You watch as streams of matter curve and converge, forming tendrils and filaments that stretch across the cloud. It is mesmerizing, the way chaos organizes into patterns, the way the universe whispers to itself through forces invisible yet undeniable. You feel a deep calm as you observe this orchestration, understanding that patience and persistence are at the heart of creation. Some regions begin to glow faintly where compression is strongest. You sense that this warmth is not yet the fire of fusion, but a soft, tender heat that hints at what may come. Gravity gathers matter slowly, allowing it to settle, to find equilibrium, to prepare for the transformative processes ahead. You feel yourself aligning with this gentle tempo, letting your thoughts expand and slow, like the clouds themselves, drifting toward clarity and concentration. The nebula is not uniform. Some pockets are denser than others, some curves sharper, some currents faster. Gravity does not act equally everywhere. It is sensitive to the distribution of mass, responding with patience to the unique contours of each cloud. You watch as particles flow into valleys of density, tracing gentle paths toward clusters that will eventually form protostars. You sense the wisdom in this distribution, the quiet balance between attraction and dispersion, between stillness and motion. You imagine that every atom knows its role, that each dust grain, each hydrogen molecule, feels the gentle insistence of gravity. There is no urgency, no rush, only a slow accumulation that is both inevitable and breathtaking. The nebula folds upon itself like soft fabric, compressing in some places, stretching in others, weaving a complex structure that will one day cradle newborn stars. You feel privileged to witness this intimate choreography, a dance of matter and force that is timeless and patient. As you drift, you notice filaments of matter stretching across the nebula, guided by gravity into long, delicate tendrils. Some intertwine and merge, forming networks that channel particles into denser regions. You follow one filament, feeling the gentle tug, sensing the unseen threads of attraction that connect distant parts of the cloud. It is as if gravity has woven an invisible web, subtle yet binding, pulling all elements toward a quiet, inevitable harmony. Temperature remains low, and you notice how it complements gravity's work. Cold hydrogen is slow-moving, allowing particles to cluster more easily without dispersing. Dust adds weight and friction, further enhancing the effect. You feel the careful balance of forces, the delicate negotiation that allows matter to come together without collapsing too quickly. Gravity acts patiently, like a soft hand guiding clay into shape, pressing gently but persistently, shaping the beginnings of cosmic structures with infinite care. Some regions of the nebula begin to shimmer faintly, illuminated by distant starlight refracted through clusters of dust. You feel that light is not merely decoration here. It interacts with gravity's shaping work, highlighting dense pockets, reflecting from dust grains, and subtly influencing the motions of nearby particles. You imagine this interplay as a conversation, light speaking softly, gravity responding, dust and hydrogen listening and adapting. It is a symphony of forces, quiet yet profound, a testament to the elegance of the universe's design. Gravity's influence extends across vast distances. You notice distant clumps moving imperceptibly toward one another, drawn by the same patient force. Some will eventually merge, forming larger cores that hold more mass and energy. You feel the slow building of potential, the accumulation of what will one day ignite fusion, creating light where there was only darkness. This process is not hurried. It is measured, deliberate, a meditation on how immense change can emerge from gentle, persistent influence. You follow a dense region as it continues to gather mass. Its edges are soft and diffuse, gradually thickening as more particles drift inward. You sense the hidden tension within, a quiet pressure that is building even as everything appears calm. Gravity is molding this region into a potential star, gathering the raw ingredients, shaping it with invisible precision. You feel the awe of this slow, relentless transformation, the hum of potential energy accumulating, waiting for the right moment to ignite. And as you linger in this gentle pull, you sense the interconnectedness of everything around you. Each particle, each cluster, each filament responds to the same patient rhythm. You realize that gravity is not merely a force acting on matter. It is the quiet heartbeat of the nebula, the soft guide leading every atom toward its destiny. You drift within this heartbeat, your own breath matching the gentle tempo, your mind attuned to the unfolding of cosmic patience. You drift deeper into the nebula, noticing how the temperature begins to change. The warmth you felt near the gathering hydrogen clouds fades gradually, replaced by a pervasive chill. It is not harsh or uncomfortable. Instead, it feels like a gentle hush, a soft calm that slows every movement, even your own. The coldness here has a purpose, a quiet discipline that encourages matter to settle, to organize, and to gather strength before transformation. You inhale deeply, feeling this coolness fill your awareness, letting it temper your mind, your thoughts, your very breath. In this cold, you sense the hydrogen and dust moving more slowly. Their wandering, playful drifts are restrained now, each atom responding more deliberately to the pull of gravity. You notice how the chill preserves the delicate balance of the nebula, preventing early dispersal, allowing denser regions to form without being scattered. The cold is patient. It does not hurry. It is a quiet guardian of potential, ensuring that nothing rushes too soon, that the process of creation unfolds with care and intention. The darkness of space deepens around you, and yet there is a subtle glow within the nebula. Light, faint and soft, filters through wisps of dust, scattering gently across hydrogen clouds. You notice how this illumination feels warmer against the cool surroundings, highlighting pockets where matter has begun to concentrate. These pockets feel heavy with anticipation, as if they carry the quiet courage to one day ignite. The cold emphasizes their stillness, allowing energy to accumulate slowly, silently, like a heartbeat waiting to pulse. You drift closer to one such dense pocket, noticing the interplay of forces at work. Gravity continues its patient pull, coaxing hydrogen and dust inward. The cold slows their motion, not as an obstacle, but as a careful guide. You feel the subtle pressure building in the center, a tension born of quiet compression. It is almost imperceptible at first, a gentle warmth at the heart of a frozen shell, yet it hints at the possibility of transformation. You sense that this is a sacred moment, the still pause before energy awakens. Dust grains within the cold pockets shimmer faintly, catching the faintest glimmers of starlight. They appear like tiny beacons, frozen in time yet alive with potential. You watch as they drift gently, colliding softly, clinging, forming the initial scaffolding for what will eventually become a star. The chill amplifies the subtle interactions, slowing them down so you can perceive the elegance of their motion. Each collision, each bonding of particles, is a whisper of creation, a soft prelude to the light that will one day shine. Temperature here is not uniform. Some regions are slightly warmer where compression is strongest, while the surrounding cold preserves the integrity of the nebula. You feel the gentle gradient of thermal energy, understanding intuitively how it stabilizes the cloud. The cold prevents premature fusion, maintaining a calm that allows gravity to continue its careful work. You sense the nebula breathing in this rhythm, the cold holding back, the dense pockets preparing, every atom contributing to the quiet patience that precedes fire. As you move along the edges of the cold regions, you notice subtle shifts in the hydrogen's behavior. Motion slows, eddies soften, and clusters become more pronounced. The chill seems to encourage focus, guiding matter to settle into stable patterns. You imagine the nebula as a vast, meditative garden, each particle following a gentle path, each clump a seed, waiting for the right moment to awaken. You feel the calm influence of the cold, as if the universe itself has taught the art of waiting. Light travels differently through this frozen expanse. Shadows stretch across the nebula, highlighting the delicate contours of clouds and dust filaments. You notice how contrasts are softened, edges blurred, creating a gentle tapestry of color and form. Even in the cold, there is beauty, a muted elegance that feels intimate and nurturing. You sense that the nebula is not merely waiting but preparing, creating conditions in which energy can bloom fully and harmoniously when the time comes. In the cold, you also perceive subtle vibrations, faint movements that are almost imperceptible. Atoms jostle slightly, dust shifts in tiny arcs, hydrogen swirls ever so gently. These micromotions hint at the slow gathering of energy, the accumulation of potential that gravity has patiently orchestrated. You feel that the cold does not prevent motion. It refines it, allowing every particle to contribute meaningfully to the eventual birth of light. The stillness amplifies significance, and every whisper of motion feels sacred. You sense that the cold is also a teacher, showing you the value of patience. Creation does not rush. It allows forces to align, atoms to gather, and energies to build gradually. You feel yourself adopting this rhythm, letting your thoughts slow, your mind soften, your body sink into gentle awareness. The nebula's chill is comforting, not harsh, a slow lull that prepares both matter and mind for the warmth to come. Even as the cold dominates, hints of heat begin to emerge at the centers of the densest pockets. You feel it as a soft pulse, almost imperceptible, like the first stirrings of a heart in deep sleep. It is not yet fire, but it is alive, a gentle accumulation of energy that will one day ignite fusion. You sense the anticipation, a quiet expectation shared by every particle, every dust grain, every wisp of hydrogen. The nebula is holding its breath, cradling the seeds of radiance in a hushed, patient embrace. You watch as particles continue to drift inward, guided by gravity, tempered by the cold. The interplay between stillness and motion, chill and emerging warmth, is a delicate balance, one that ensures the nebula's potential remains intact until the moment is right. You feel the elegance of this cosmic choreography, the meditative rhythm that prepares matter for transformation. It is a quiet lesson in patience, resilience, and trust in the process of creation. And as you linger among the frozen clouds, you sense the nebula poised at the threshold of awakening. The cold is not emptiness but a canvas, a silent prelude to the first sparks of energy that will emerge. You feel the quiet anticipation, the tension between restraint and the inevitable warmth that is soon to arrive. You float among the dense pockets of hydrogen and dust, feeling the gentle cold still pressing against your awareness. And yet, amid this quiet, a new movement begins to emerge, a slow, subtle spin. It is almost imperceptible at first, a whisper of motion, a delicate twist in the currents of gas and dust. You notice it in the way clouds curl slightly, how filaments begin to wrap around denser regions, like a soft braid forming in slow motion. The nebula itself seems to sigh as it turns, embracing the rhythm of this rotation. Gravity continues to guide the gathering matter, yet now it is joined by this new motion. Particles drift inward, spiraling softly as they respond to the twist. You sense that the spin is gentle, patient, yet inevitable, a natural consequence of the forces at play. It does not rush, it flows slowly, deliberately, like water finding its path around rocks in a quiet stream. You imagine the clouds as dancers in a silent ballet, each atom moving in harmony with the rhythm, every motion contributing to the larger pattern. The spirals are not uniform. Some rotate more quickly at the edges, others linger slowly at the center. You notice that this variation creates beautiful, flowing patterns, delicate arcs that curl and intertwine. Dust grains catch the faint light of distant stars, tracing luminous paths along the spiraling currents. You feel your own attention drawn into the motion, your body floating gently with the flow, your mind attuning to the soft elegance of these cosmic rotations. You watch as small clumps of hydrogen and dust follow the spirals inward. They gather slowly, responding to both gravity and the subtle centrifugal force created by the spin. You feel a tension in this process, gentle, quiet, but palpable. The clouds are compressing and rotating simultaneously, creating regions where matter becomes denser, more organized, more ready to ignite. There is a meditative patience in this dance, a reminder that creation often requires both stillness and motion in balance. The spirals create delicate channels through which matter flows, like streams of light threading through darkness. You sense that these channels are essential for the future, guiding particles toward the densest pockets, ensuring that every atom contributes to the eventual birth of stars. Dust and hydrogen swirl together in slow arcs, their paths tracing invisible spirals that will one day influence the shape and rotation of newborn stellar systems. You float alongside these currents, feeling the gentle tug of each twist and turn, mesmerized by the quiet orchestration. Temperature variations add subtle depth to the motion. Colder regions move more slowly, preserving order, while slightly warmer pockets at the center begin to hum with energy. You notice that these warm areas are not chaotic. They flow with the spin, distributing energy gently, preparing the matter for the eventual ignition that lies far ahead. You sense the careful balance of forces, gravity pulling inward, the spin guiding motion, temperature controlling pace, each element working in quiet harmony to nurture the nebula's potential. Even the tiniest dust grains participate. They spiral gracefully, brushing past one another, sticking together, forming the beginnings of larger structures. Some reflect light, tracing delicate curves in the darkness, while others remain shadowed, hidden in the folds of hydrogen. You feel the elegance of this interaction, the way countless small motions accumulate into something grand and orderly. The spiraling motion is both gentle and transformative, a patient sculptor shaping matter for the future. As the rotation continues, you notice subtle eddies forming along the edges of the clouds. These are areas where matter swirls slightly faster, creating miniature whirlpools that eventually merge into larger flows. You feel a quiet sense of anticipation as these small motions hint at the complexity that will soon emerge, the formation of protostellar disks, the early stages of angular momentum that will govern the rotation of newborn stars. The nebula seems alive in this slow dance, a living tapestry woven from motion, stillness, and patience. The spirals also create a sense of rhythm that spreads through the nebula. Hydrogen moves in gentle arcs, dust glimmers in slow curves, and even the cold seems to shift with a quiet cadence. You sense that this rhythm is fundamental, a soft pulse that orchestrates the collection and compression of matter. It is a quiet meditation, a cosmic heartbeat that flows steadily, inviting you to drift with it, to feel connected to the slow unfolding of creation. You notice faint interactions at the edges of these spirals. Gravity pulls, the spin guides, and dust and hydrogen respond, moving ever so slightly toward the densest regions. You sense the delicate negotiations occurring at microscopic scales, collisions that are gentle yet significant, the formation of tiny clumps that will serve as seeds for future stars. It is a reminder that even the smallest elements in the universe have a role in shaping the grandest events. You float, absorbing this harmony, letting your mind slow in tandem with the nebula's dance. Light continues to interact with the spiraling clouds. Rays from distant stars bend softly around dust filaments, creating a faint glow along the edges of the arcs. Some regions shimmer, others remain in subtle shadow, producing a gentle contrast that enhances the elegance of the motion. You feel the interplay of light, shadow, and rotation as a quiet, poetic expression of natural law. Each spiral is a story, each rotation a verse in the ongoing song of creation. You sense that the spirals are shaping more than motion, they are shaping the structure of the future. Denser regions begin to flatten slightly as rotation increases, hinting at the disks that will eventually host protostars. You feel the nebula's patience, how it allows matter to accumulate slowly, guided by forces that are invisible yet profound. The spin is a gentle teacher, showing you how motion and stillness can coexist, how energy and matter can harmonize to create form. Even as you float, you notice subtle vibrations within the rotating clouds. They are faint, almost imperceptible, yet they hint at the energy accumulating at the centers of dense pockets. This energy is not yet light, not yet fire, but it is alive, waiting. You sense the anticipation in the nebula, the quiet expectation, the patient rhythm that holds matter together until the moment is right. It is a lullaby of motion and potential, a gentle prelude to the awakening that will follow. And as you drift along the slow spirals, you feel yourself merging with the rhythm of the nebula. You are aware of the gentle forces at play, the pull of gravity, the whisper of cold, the guiding hand of rotation. Each motion is purposeful, each swirl a step toward creation, each spiral a quiet testament to the patience of the universe. You drift gently among the nebula's spiraling clouds, feeling the subtle rotation still guiding the movement of matter. Gravity continues its patient work, pulling hydrogen and dust inward. And now, in this careful orchestration, certain regions begin to stand out. They are denser than their surroundings, faintly heavier, softly insistent. You notice them forming as clumps, tiny knots in the flowing clouds, the first tangible signs that potential is gathering. They are not yet stars, but you feel in their quiet presence the promise of something to come. Each clump moves with the gentle rhythm of the nebula, a slow, deliberate collection of particles drawn together by the pull of gravity. Dust grains brush softly against hydrogen, sticking together, forming minuscule seeds. You imagine these clumps as the universe's whispered intentions, small gatherings of matter that will eventually grow into luminous life. There is an almost sacred quality in watching them consolidate, each one a silent testament to patience and persistence across eons. At the center of each clump, a core begins to emerge. It is heavier, denser, and slightly warmer than its surroundings, though the change is subtle. You feel a quiet tension radiating from these cores, a sense of compressed energy waiting. They are poised, balanced delicately between stillness and motion, holding their accumulated potential like coiled springs. You drift closer to observe, breathing in harmony with their slow heartbeat, sensing that something transformative is quietly preparing. The cores do not form uniformly. Some are larger, more massive, pulling in surrounding matter with a stronger influence. Others remain smaller, their potential waiting patiently for more particles to join them. You notice the variation, understanding that creation is rarely symmetrical, rarely hurried. Each core follows its own tempo, guided by the interplay of gravity, pressure, and surrounding motion. You feel yourself adjusting, letting your attention settle into the gentle patterns of accumulation. Dust within the clumps glows faintly as it reflects the scattered light from neighboring stars, shimmering softly against the cold backdrop. Hydrogen swirls around these cores, slow-moving, guided by the subtle push and pull of forces both near and far. You sense that this motion, though delicate, is purposeful, orchestrated to allow matter to condense without violent disruption. Even in the vast emptiness of space, there is a patient design at work, one that prepares every particle for its eventual role. You notice the core's boundaries are not rigid. They are soft, almost fluid, gradually accumulating matter while maintaining a gentle equilibrium. Surrounding clouds continue to flow, feeding the cores slowly, their movement moderated by both gravity and the friction of dust. You sense a tension in these regions, a quiet energy building, restrained but palpable, as if the universe itself is holding its breath. This is the still moment before transformation, a pause pregnant with potential. Temperature in the cores remains slightly higher than the surrounding cold, though still gentle and moderate. This warmth is not yet fire, not yet fusion, but a subtle signal that the energy of compression is accumulating. You feel this energy as a faint pulse, almost imperceptible, resonating quietly with the rhythm of your own breath. The nebula teaches you here that even in silence, there is motion, even in cold, there is preparation for brilliance. The clumps begin to interact softly with one another. Streams of gas and dust weave between them, sometimes merging, sometimes nudging a nearby clump into greater density. You notice these interactions are subtle but significant, shaping the core's growth and influencing the future layout of the star-forming region. There is a gentle choreography at work, delicate and complex, a quiet conversation between particles and clumps that will one day determine the placement of new stars. Light moves differently here, refracting and scattering gently through the denser pockets. You watch as the cores appear to shimmer faintly, highlighted by soft glows that trace their edges. This visual poetry is not just for beauty, it reflects the movement of matter, the subtle gathering of potential energy, and the quiet work of gravity sculpting the nebula. You feel the elegance of these processes, understanding them not as abstract forces but as living, breathing actions within the fabric of space. You notice the slow rotation of the cores themselves, a soft spin inherited from the larger motions of the clouds. They rotate gently, carrying with them the angular momentum of the nebula, a subtle reminder that motion and energy are conserved across space and time. You feel the harmony in this rotation, the balance between inward compression and outward motion, and the inevitability that the next stage of creation is approaching. The clump's growth continues, imperceptibly but relentlessly. Each addition of dust, each particle of hydrogen drawn inward, increases the core's density and potential. You sense that these cores are on the threshold, quietly preparing for the moment when accumulated energy will ignite into light. The tension is palpable, yet calm, a quiet reminder that creation is measured, deliberate, and deeply patient. Even as you drift, observing, the surrounding clouds continue to flow, feeding and shaping the clumps. Gentle eddies carry matter toward the cores, subtle currents guide dust along arcs, and gravity orchestrates the motion without hurry. You feel yourself in tune with this rhythm, your own awareness expanding, breathing with the slow, deliberate cadence of the nebula. There is a meditation here, a quiet lesson in patience and the careful gathering of potential. And in this silent observation, you notice the core's subtle warmth and dense weight, a quiet intensity that hums beneath the cold. They are still waiting, compressed and tense, holding energy like water behind a dam. You feel the anticipation of what is to come, a gentle reminder that transformation requires preparation, and that the universe always moves with both grace and inevitability. You drift quietly among the dense cores, feeling the soft pulse of energy radiating from their centers. The nebula is still around you, cold and silent, Yet within these heavy pockets, something begins to stir. There is a gentle warmth, subtle and slow, like the first breath of day against a long night. It is not fire, not yet, but a quiet signal that transformation is beginning. You sense the energy accumulating, almost imperceptibly, as the cores prepare for the delicate moment when light will emerge. The warmth spreads gradually through each core, more pronounced at the center and fading gently outward. You notice that this is not abrupt. It is patient, meditative. Particles move slightly faster here, brushed by the soft heat of compression. Hydrogen and helium shift imperceptibly, guided by gravity, settling ever closer together. The cores hold this energy carefully, neither releasing it nor allowing it to disperse, as if understanding the importance of timing in creation. Dust grains, gathered over countless eons, glimmer faintly in this emerging warmth. They refract and reflect the subtle glow, casting miniature halos across the cold surroundings. You watch as these tiny particles trace slow arcs, participating in the quiet buildup of energy. Each grain seems to hold a memory of the nebula's long journey, carrying within it the potential to witness the first flicker of nuclear light. You feel a connection to this history, sensing that even the smallest element in the cosmos contributes to the grandeur that will soon unfold. The core's shape begins to feel more defined as gravity continues its patient compression. You notice that the inward pull is now balanced delicately by the outward pressure from the slowly increasing temperature. This balance is fragile, a gentle tension that hums with possibility. You sense it as a quiet rhythm, a slow heartbeat of matter preparing for its moment. You float closer, feeling the weight of compressed hydrogen, the gentle pressure of helium, the poised anticipation of energy waiting to awaken. Temperature differences within the cores are subtle but significant. Colder outer layers cradle the warmer centers, holding the energy in check while allowing it to accumulate. You feel the elegance of this natural regulation, the patient guidance that ensures transformation will occur neither too soon nor too abruptly. The nebula has mastered the art of timing, teaching you that potential is most powerful when nurtured slowly and respectfully. The first hints of light are almost imperceptible, a tender glow hidden within the dense hydrogen. You sense it as a soft hum, not yet visible, a promise rather than a reality. This is the prelude, the quiet threshold between compression and fusion. You feel your own breath slowing as you attune to the rhythm of the cores, sensing the gentle accumulation of energy, the way the universe holds itself in perfect equilibrium before change. Particles within the cores interact delicately, moving in response to both gravity and the subtle warmth. Hydrogen atoms brush against one another, their collisions almost tender, producing a microcosm of energy that adds to the core's potential. You notice helium beginning to accumulate, too, its presence small but important, preparing to participate in the eventual nuclear reactions. There is a quiet poetry in these interactions, a meditation on the careful assembly of matter that will eventually host light. You drift closer to observe one particularly dense core. Its center glows faintly, almost imperceptibly, yet you feel the energy humming through space. The tension is palpable but calm, a poised stillness pregnant with possibility. Dust and gas swirl slowly around the core's edges, feeding it, shaping it, contributing to its silent preparation. You feel that the entire nebula is holding its breath with this core, waiting, watching, knowing that the first flicker of nuclear fire is only a heartbeat away. Even in this quiet, the rotation of the core is noticeable. It spins gently, a slow, deliberate motion inherited from the larger cloud. This rotation helps distribute pressure evenly, ensuring that the buildup of energy is stable and controlled. You sense the elegance of this cosmic design, the way motion and stillness, heat and cold, compression and patience, all weave together to create the conditions necessary for life-giving light. Light itself is not yet visible, but you sense its imminent arrival in the subtle vibrations of the core. Particles shift with small bursts of motion, guided by the slow pulse of compression. Each interaction is a whisper of potential, a tiny step toward illumination. You feel the cumulative power of countless atoms, each playing its part in a cosmic meditation that will soon manifest as radiant energy. There is a sacred patience in this moment, a slow crescendo building beneath the surface of calm. Around the core, the surrounding nebula observes silently. Cold gas and dust hold their positions, neither rushing to disperse nor collapsing too quickly. You sense the quiet cooperation between core and cloud, the way the environment nurtures the emerging energy, protecting it until it is ready to shine. It is a gentle lesson in timing, in harmony, and in the delicate balance of forces that govern creation. As the warmth in the center continues to grow, you feel the first faint hints of motion that will soon release energy. It is subtle, almost ghostly, a vibration rather than a visible flash. You sense the readiness of the core, the gentle anticipation, the poised tension that precedes light. Every atom, every particle, participates in this quiet prelude, creating a resonance that hums softly through the nebula. You notice the promise of light reflected in the surrounding dust, casting faint, shifting patterns across the cold gas. The nebula itself seems aware, its flowing currents guiding and supporting the core's slow preparation. You feel immersed in the process, as if you are part of the silent, patient choreography that will soon culminate in radiance. The quiet intensity of these cores is profound. You sense that the first flicker of nuclear fire is not an abrupt explosion, but a gentle awakening, a soft illumination that will spread outward, touching the surrounding clouds and signaling the birth of a star. You feel the patient rhythm of the universe, the slow accumulation of energy, the careful orchestration of matter and motion that brings light into being. And as you linger, suspended among these dense cores, you sense the first warmth poised to blossom, a quiet, restrained energy that will soon break through the stillness. The nebula waits with you, holding its breath, as light prepares to awaken. You drift closer to the densest cores you have observed, feeling the subtle warmth growing stronger at their centers. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, the cores begin to transform. They are no longer just dense pockets of hydrogen and dust. They are becoming protostars, small seeds of radiance nestled within their nebula nurseries. You feel their gentle pulse, the quiet hum of energy accumulating, a soft promise of life yet to fully shine. The protostars are delicate yet powerful. You sense the immense potential within each one, compressed quietly in the heart of the nebula. Dust and hydrogen swirl slowly around their surfaces, drawn by gravity yet restrained by the balancing pressure of accumulating energy. Each protostar is a microcosm of patience, a living meditation in which matter and motion converge to form the earliest expression of light. You drift alongside, moving in rhythm with their subtle spin, immersed in the calm anticipation of creation. You notice that their glow is faint but distinct, a soft warmth emanating from within. It is not yet the brilliance of a star, but it is enough to illuminate the surrounding clouds with gentle light. You feel the energy radiating outward in all directions, caressing the nebula, whispering of the potential waiting to emerge. Dust grains within the immediate vicinity glimmer slightly, reflecting this faint radiance, tracing patterns in the cold surrounding gas, and hinting at the artistry of nature's design. Each protostar carries the memory of the particles it has drawn together. Hydrogen, helium, and dust, gathered over millions of years, have merged into a single, dense heart. You sense the history embedded in this gathering, the quiet lineage of matter stretching across time and space. Even the faintest dust grain remembers the journey it took from distant corners of the nebula, now converging to form the beginnings of something luminous and self-sustaining. The rotation of these protostars is gentle, a soft spin inherited from the broader motion of the nebula. You notice that this rotation helps shape their surrounding disks, guiding matter into coherent flows while maintaining equilibrium. Angular momentum is conserved in these slow dances, and you sense the balance between inward pull and outward pressure, a delicate interplay that ensures stability as the cores continue to warm. Temperature at the center of each protostar is increasing gradually. You feel it as a quiet heartbeat, a soft, constant rise that spreads warmth outward. The energy remains contained for now, restrained by the cooling effects of surrounding material and the equilibrium between pressure and gravity. Yet, you can sense the inevitability. With time, compression and heat will reach a threshold, and nuclear reactions will begin, transforming the protostar into a full-fledged star. The surrounding nebula flows gently around the protostars, its gas and dust participating in a subtle conversation. Streams of matter feed the growing energy at the center, while turbulence carries some particles away, balancing accumulation with release. You notice that this exchange is neither violent nor chaotic. It is a quiet, rhythmic process, a meditative flow in which energy and matter gradually find their place. Every particle contributes to the protostar's development, adding to the narrative of its eventual light. You float near one particularly luminous protostar, observing the delicate spiral of its surrounding dust. Filaments trace arcs as they slowly converge toward the center, guided by gravity and the protostar's gentle rotation. Light filters through these spirals, faint and soft, painting the surrounding nebula in gentle gradients. You feel yourself enveloped in this glow, aware that the protostar's energy is reaching outward, coaxing the environment to participate in the ongoing formation of radiance. Within each protostar, hydrogen atoms drift closer, colliding softly, creating microbursts of kinetic energy. These interactions are subtle but cumulative, increasing the internal heat and pressure. You sense the quiet intensification, a patient accumulation that will one day trigger nuclear fusion. It is not forceful, it is meditative, an almost imperceptible crescendo, a soft prelude to the brilliance that will eventually emerge. The protostar's glow interacts with dust in fascinating ways. Some light scatters, creating soft halos. Some passes through, illuminating clouds farther away. Some reflects off tiny grains, producing miniature sparks of luminescence. You feel a profound serenity watching this gentle dance of light and matter, aware that each particle, each reflection, contributes to the story of formation. The nebula becomes both stage and participant, hosting the quiet awakening of these nascent stars. You notice that not all protostars are alike. Some are larger, brighter, with faster spins. Others are smaller, subtler, nearly hidden within the surrounding clouds. This diversity is beautiful, a reminder that creation is rarely uniform, that the universe allows variation to flourish. You sense that each will follow its own path, its own timeline, yet all will eventually share the same destiny, to shine with their own light, to radiate the history of their formation into the cosmos. Even as you drift among these protostars, you feel a rhythm in the nebula itself, a soft pulse that seems to echo the energy building within each core. It is a meditation in motion, a gentle affirmation that creation is continuous, deliberate, and exquisitely balanced. The nebula and its protostars are intertwined, a single living system where every motion and every particle has significance. You sense the anticipation that surrounds these growing stars. Energy, warmth, and matter are gathering quietly, awaiting the precise moment when compression and heat will align to ignite nuclear reactions. It is a still, meditative expectation, a quiet pause in which the universe holds its breath. You feel this tension not as anxiety but as calm preparation, a patient watchfulness that allows brilliance to emerge naturally. And as you float among the protostars, you notice the soft light beginning to distinguish them from the surrounding clouds. Their warmth and glow are modest but undeniable, hinting at the immense energy they will one day release. You feel the connection between these nascent stars and the nebula that birthed them, the shared memory of particles and motion, and the quiet promise of future illumination. You drift among the gentle glow of the protostars, feeling their soft pulse as warmth slowly intensifies at their cores. For the first time, you sense a new rhythm, subtle yet constant, a vibration within the hydrogen atoms as they begin to merge. Fusion is awakening, quiet and deliberate, the first murmurs of energy that will eventually radiate as light. You notice that it is not abrupt or violent. It is a patient, meditative process, like the gentle stirring of a still lake under the dawn's first light. The hydrogen atoms collide within the protostar's core, their motion guided by pressure, temperature, and gravity. Each encounter is delicate yet profound, releasing small bursts of energy that accumulate quietly, almost imperceptibly at first. You feel the rhythm of these collisions, the soft, constant building of heat, a heartbeat growing stronger with each microsecond. This is the core of creation, where matter begins to whisper the language of light. You notice the warmth spreading gradually outward from the center, touching each layer of the protostar with a soft, enveloping glow. It is gentle, yet unstoppable, a subtle promise that energy will eventually permeate the entire star. Dust and gas in surrounding clouds react to this change, moving slightly, reflecting the faint radiance, and participating in the protostar's awakening. You feel the elegance of this interconnectedness, the quiet choreography that allows life-giving energy to emerge without disruption. The protostar's rotation plays a vital role. You notice how the gentle spin distributes heat and pressure evenly across its core, ensuring that fusion begins in a controlled, steady manner. Angular momentum flows through the spinning layers, a soft, guiding current that balances inward compression with outward pressure. You sense the harmony in this delicate equilibrium, understanding that the forces of motion and energy are intertwined in a silent meditation that allows fusion to thrive. Each proton that fuses carries with it a subtle release of energy, a quiet whisper that joins countless others to create a soft, steady glow. You feel this energy as a gentle warmth, radiating outward, touching the surrounding nebula, and coaxing nearby gas and dust to participate in the nascent star's life. Even the smallest interactions are significant, tiny contributors to a grand cosmic symphony, reminding you that creation is often composed of countless quiet gestures rather than dramatic events. Light is beginning to emerge, though faintly, from the dense protostar. It is a soft shimmer, barely perceptible through the surrounding clouds, yet unmistakably present. You notice how it dances among the dust and hydrogen, tracing delicate arcs, illuminating edges, and casting subtle reflections that ripple through the nebula. This early light is a gentle herald, the first voice of a star speaking into the quiet cosmos. Pressure continues to rise as fusion strengthens. You sense the balance between gravitational pull and thermal expansion, a tension maintained with remarkable poise. The protostar does not erupt, it hums with controlled energy, a soft, steady pulse that communicates stability as well as vitality. You feel this rhythm in your own breath, your mind aligning with the patient cadence of the protostar's emerging heartbeat. Even in its stillness, the core is alive with motion. Hydrogen and helium swirl in gentle currents, guided by the soft spin and subtle temperature gradients. Each particle participates in the quiet crescendo, a meditation in motion, a dance that allows energy to accumulate and light to emerge. You sense that this is the very essence of a star's awakening, a profound calm imbued with immense power. You float closer, noticing tiny fluctuations within the core. Energy pulses outward, subtle waves moving through hydrogen clouds, a vibration that echoes through the protostar. It is a rhythm you can almost feel physically, a heartbeat of matter and energy growing in strength, delicate yet relentless. You sense that this is the pulse of the universe itself, a quiet affirmation that creation is deliberate, patient, and graceful. The surrounding nebula responds to this nascent energy. Gas clouds shift slightly, dust begins to reflect faint light, and even the cold outer regions of the protostar feel a gentle warming. You notice that the star is no longer separate from its nursery. It is intimately connected, sharing its energy and participating in the nebula's ongoing evolution. You feel a sense of unity, a quiet meditation on how growth and emergence are never solitary acts. As fusion strengthens, the protostar begins to stabilize, its internal pressure balancing the gravitational pull with a soft equilibrium. You sense the quiet confidence in this balance, the way the star has learned to hold itself together while radiating warmth outward. It is not yet shining fully, not yet free of the nebula's embrace, but you feel the inevitability of its eventual release. The energy within is patient, enduring, and resilient. The heartbeat of fusion is now evident in a soft, rhythmic glow. You notice it in the light that begins to scatter through the surrounding dust, illuminating the edges of nearby clouds, casting shadows, and revealing subtle arcs. Each pulse of energy is a whisper of life, a reminder that even the smallest bursts can accumulate into enduring brilliance. You feel yourself suspended within this rhythm, your awareness attuning to the gentle cadence of creation. You sense the inevitability of emergence. The protostar is slowly but surely preparing to break free, its energy ready to expand beyond the core, to touch the surrounding nebula, and eventually, to shine independently. This is a quiet, meditative moment, a pause between preparation and radiance. You understand that even in stillness, energy can accumulate, and that patient creation is often the most profound. The interplay between pressure, temperature, rotation, and gravitational pull creates a harmonious balance. You notice how each force complements the others, guiding the protostar's evolution without haste or disruption. It is a meditation in equilibrium, a delicate orchestration in which light will eventually emerge as a natural consequence of patient accumulation. And as you drift among these nascent stars, you feel the subtle rise of warmth, the gentle pulse of fusion, and the quiet certainty that light will soon spread outward. Each protostar carries within it the memory of its cloud, the rhythm of its birth, and the promise of brilliance yet to come. You drift quietly among the young stars, feeling the warmth radiating gently from their cores. Fusion is now well established, and with it comes the first outward flow of energy. Radiation begins to escape the protostar, a soft, persistent pressure that nudges the surrounding gas and dust outward. It is a gentle push, not violent, yet unstoppable, shaping the nebula in ways both subtle and profound. You sense the dialogue between light and matter, a silent negotiation of space and energy that unfolds slowly before your eyes. The surrounding clouds respond with a measured grace. Gas and dust shift slightly, moving outward along soft currents created by the escaping radiation. You notice how delicate this balance is. Gravity pulls inward, while radiation exerts outward pressure, creating a slow, meditative tug-of-war. The nebula adjusts, forming arcs, ripples, and pockets where matter collects or disperses. You feel the calm rhythm of this cosmic dance, understanding that creation is not abrupt but a gentle, continuous negotiation between forces. Light itself begins to play across the surrounding nebula, refracting through dust grains, illuminating edges, and casting soft shadows. You notice these shadows are not empty. They contain potential, regions where matter is quietly protected and nurtured. Every glow, every dimmed area, tells a story of energy interacting with material, of the star learning to breathe into its environment. You drift among these patterns, sensing the interconnectedness of light and matter, the slow shaping of a new cosmic landscape. The push of radiation is not uniform. Some regions feel stronger, as streams of energy find paths of least resistance, while denser pockets resist longer, holding their matter close. You sense a subtle poetry in this variation, a meditative reminder that the universe rarely acts symmetrically. The nebula is sculpted unevenly, but with elegance, creating channels and voids that hint at future possibilities. You feel the soft artistry of these forces, shaping stars and clouds without hurry or excess. Dust grains reflect faint light, tracing delicate arcs as they are carried outward by radiation pressure. Some spiral gently around the protostar, forming transient patterns, while others drift farther into the nebula, adding their subtle glimmer to distant regions. You watch as these tiny particles participate willingly in the gentle shaping of space, their movements slow and purposeful, a quiet meditation in motion. Every grain contributes to the balance, a reminder that even the smallest elements play a role in the cosmic narrative. The gas around the star is affected differently, pushed more slowly due to its lower density and fluid nature. You notice how it forms wisps and tendrils, creating soft, flowing lines that contrast with the rigid paths of dust. These tendrils ripple outward, carrying the star's energy gently across space, shaping the nebula in a slow, meditative flow. You feel attuned to this rhythm, moving alongside it in quiet awareness, sensing the patient negotiation of forces as energy spreads. You notice the edges of the protostar itself glowing more brightly, a result of energy being carried outward. Light begins to escape more freely, marking the transition from hidden warmth to visible influence. You sense the subtle feedback between radiation and the nebula. The star pushes outward, the cloud resists, and in this interplay, structure emerges. It is a meditation in tension, a quiet choreography that balances expansion and containment, shaping matter while preserving harmony. Even in its outward push, radiation interacts with gravity. Some gas and dust streams are slowed, pulled back slightly toward the protostar, while others accelerate along paths of least resistance. You notice that this delicate balance creates pockets of density that may later become sites of new star formation. There is a quiet continuity here, a meditative sense that the energy of one star prepares the space for future creation, a cosmic rhythm that flows patiently through time. The glow from the star interacts with the nebula in subtle ways. Some light is absorbed by dust grains, warming them slightly. Some scatters, creating halos and soft reflections. Some passes through empty spaces, carrying its energy into distant regions. You feel the interplay of absorption and reflection, the quiet poetry in how energy travels, slows, and illuminates its surroundings. Every photon participates in this gentle shaping, a meditation in light and shadow. The nebula adjusts slowly, forming gentle arcs, cavities, and flows in response to the push of radiation. You notice that these changes are not abrupt. They occur over long spans, almost imperceptibly in real time, yet profound in their cumulative effect. You sense that space itself is learning to breathe with the star, adapting to the quiet energy now moving outward. This is a lesson in patience and balance, a meditation in the slow sculpting of matter by light. You notice that some dust and gas streams begin to form spiral paths around the protostar, subtly hinting at the structures that will later guide planet formation. The gentle radiation pressure, in combination with rotation, is already influencing these paths, creating soft channels and arcs. You feel the elegance in this process, the quiet preparation of the universe for future complexity. Even before the star shines fully, it leaves its imprint on its surroundings, a meditation in influence and preparation. The protostar continues its slow, rhythmic pulsing. Radiation escapes in a gentle, continuous flow, nudging clouds outward, while gravity moderates the expansion. You feel the soft tug-of-war, the balance of forces that shapes both the star and the nebula. There is a serene patience here, a meditation in energy transfer, a quiet affirmation that creation unfolds gradually, with care and precision. As you drift among these clouds, you notice that the push of radiation also clears channels of space, creating paths through which light will travel more freely in the future. You sense that this gentle shaping is as important as the energy itself, preparing the environment for new stars and future formation. The nebula learns from the star, adjusts to its rhythm, and prepares for what will follow. And in this quiet, measured expansion, you sense the protostar gaining confidence, its energy stretching outward, shaping matter, and preparing to shine more fully. The push of radiation is gentle but persistent, a meditation in influence, a soft assertion of presence that will ripple through space for millions of years. You drift gently among the soft glow of the newborn star, feeling the subtle warmth radiating outward. Beyond the light, you begin to sense something more delicate, a gentle flow of particles moving quietly from the star's surface. These are the stellar winds, streams of protons, electrons, and atomic nuclei, leaving the star softly yet persistently. You notice how they brush against the surrounding clouds, nudging them gently, shaping paths, and creating channels in the nebula. It is a whisper of energy, slow and rhythmic, a quiet statement of presence. The stellar winds are patient, persistent, and remarkably deliberate. You feel their influence on nearby gas, gently clearing pathways and creating subtle variations in density. Dust grains shift under the invisible current, spiraling softly, forming patterns that hint at the architecture of future planetary systems. You sense the elegance of this process. The star, while still young, is already leaving its mark on the environment, teaching matter to flow, bend, and respond. Light and wind move together, dancing through the nebula in harmony. You notice the soft glow illuminating the streams, tracing their paths with subtle, shifting patterns. Shadows stretch across the clouds, outlining ridges, cavities, and spiral channels formed by the constant whisper of the particles. You feel immersed in this slow ballet, understanding that even the smallest elements, the tiniest grains of dust, play their part in a quiet, purposeful choreography. The winds carry energy, but also momentum, nudging clouds outward while balancing the gravitational pull of the nebula. You sense this interplay as a gentle tension, a meditative tug-of-war that sculpts space without violence. Some regions resist more than others, creating subtle differences in flow and density. You notice how these variations allow matter to collect in certain pockets, preparing the foundation for future stars or planets. Even resistance becomes part of the rhythm, a quiet guide for what will follow. Dust and gas in the nebula swirl softly under the influence of the winds. You observe the delicate arcs formed as particles are lifted, carried along, and eventually settle into new paths. Tiny clusters begin to emerge, moving in patterns that suggest the early formation of disks or elongated filaments. You feel a sense of patience and calm in these flows, understanding that creation is rarely abrupt. It is a gentle, iterative process, guided by subtle forces and quiet persistence. The star itself hums with energy, a subtle pulse that resonates with the surrounding winds. You notice that these streams are not chaotic. They follow the contours of magnetic fields and pressure gradients, moving predictably yet organically. You feel the meditative quality of this motion, the way the universe balances energy and matter, shaping space with soft insistence rather than force. It is a lesson in gentle influence, a reminder that even the smallest push can leave lasting patterns over time. You drift closer to one stream of particles, feeling the faint rush of energy as protons and electrons move outward. The motion is soft, almost imperceptible at first, but persistent enough to shape nearby clouds. You notice that the wind carries heat as well as momentum, subtly warming the gas it passes through. This warming helps prevent premature collapse, creating a measured environment in which matter can accumulate safely and thoughtfully. You sense the quiet wisdom in this balance, the way the star nurtures its surroundings without haste. The gentle winds carve channels in the surrounding nebula, revealing hidden pockets and corridors where light can now penetrate more easily. Dust grains reflect this newfound illumination, scattering faint halos across distant clouds. You feel enveloped in this interplay of light and matter, recognizing the harmony of forces at work. Each movement, each particle, contributes to a meditative architecture, guiding space and energy toward forms yet to fully emerge. You notice subtle spirals forming along the edges of these cleared channels. The combination of rotation and stellar wind creates graceful arcs, tiny suggestions of disks that may one day nurture planets. You sense the slow choreography, the meditative shaping of matter, and the deliberate hand of the star guiding its environment. Even before it shines fully on its own, the star is influencing the future, quietly orchestrating possibilities for worlds yet unseen. The whisper of the winds is accompanied by the soft glow of the star's surface. You notice how the two forces work together, light illuminating the paths traced by particles, energy guiding matter into motion. This synergy creates a calm, meditative flow, a subtle rhythm that stretches across the nebula. You feel part of this rhythm, moving with it, breathing in time with the soft currents that shape space and nurture creation. Some dust and gas are swept farther, carried gently along paths of least resistance. You watch as these streams curl, expand, and then settle into slow arcs or filaments. They may one day condense into new clumps, seeding further star formation or guiding the birth of planets. You sense that the influence of the stellar wind is long-lasting, a slow, quiet preparation for complexity, a meditation in both motion and time. Even the faintest particles reflect light, glimmering softly as they ride the wind. You notice the subtle interplay of illumination and motion, a calm narrative told in arcs, halos, and tiny sparks. You feel a profound sense of serenity as you observe this delicate network, aware that each element, light, dust, gas, wind, participates willingly in a larger cosmic meditation. The nebula itself seems to respond to these whispers. Currents shift slowly, cavities widen gently, and pockets of matter begin to rearrange. You sense the subtle intelligence of this system, not in a conscious sense, but in the graceful, balanced way energy and matter interact. Each motion carries forward the legacy of formation, each stream of particles a quiet gesture of preparation for what will follow. And as you float among these gentle currents, you notice how the star's influence extends farther than light alone. Streams of particles carry warmth, momentum, and subtle shaping forces outward, preparing the surrounding nebula for future growth. You sense the meditative continuity, the way a young star quietly guides space around it, whispering through the cosmos. You drift closer to the young star, noticing how the surrounding dust and gas have begun to settle into gentle, circular motion. Gravity, rotation, and the subtle push of stellar winds work together, guiding particles into a flattened, spinning disk around the star. You feel the rhythm of this rotation, slow and meditative, a cosmic ballet where every particle has a place and purpose. The disk is delicate, almost invisible against the nebula's soft glow, yet it carries immense potential for the future. The motion is hypnotic. Dust grains trace endless arcs, circling the star in quiet harmony, while gas flows in soft, continuous currents. You sense the balance that allows the disk to remain stable, inward pull from gravity, outward pressure from rotation and radiation, all blending into a calm, persistent rhythm. It is a gentle negotiation of forces, a quiet meditation in motion, where structure emerges naturally from the interplay of energy and matter. You notice the disk is not uniform. Some regions are denser, where dust and gas begin to clump slightly, hinting at future formations. Other areas remain more diffuse, allowing light from the star to filter through, casting faint shadows on the material beneath. You feel a soft serenity in observing these variations, understanding that diversity is essential to the eventual complexity of planetary systems. Each fluctuation carries the seed of future creation. The particles within the disk move with surprising elegance. Tiny grains drift together, colliding softly and sticking through gentle electrostatic forces. Over time, these microscopic interactions allow larger clumps to form, a slow, patient accumulation that may one day give birth to planetesimals. You watch this process unfold like a quiet dance, each collision gentle but significant, contributing to the long, meditative journey toward cosmic architecture. Gas flows along with the dust, sometimes spiraling inward toward the star, other times carried outward by subtle interactions with radiation and pressure. You sense a rhythm in these flows, a calm pulse connecting the disk to the central star. Even the faintest motions matter, and you feel attuned to the delicate balance that allows both stability and gradual evolution within this nascent system. The disk reflects the star's light in soft, diffuse patterns. You notice how photons scatter across the swirling material, tracing arcs, ripples, and tiny filaments. The glow illuminates paths that the particles follow, a meditative visual rhythm where light and matter move in quiet dialogue. You feel your mind slowing to match this rhythm, drifting gently among the arcs and spirals, aware that you are witnessing the first moments of planetary choreography. Spirals form naturally within the disk, gentle and graceful. Some regions rotate slightly faster, others more slowly, creating subtle variations that enhance the beauty of the system. You sense that these spirals are not random. They arise from the balance of gravity, pressure, and angular momentum, shaping the future pathways of planets and smaller celestial bodies. There is a soft poetry in this arrangement, a meditative elegance in the way order emerges from motion. You notice that as particles collide and coalesce, small voids appear in the disk, regions temporarily cleared of matter. These gaps are part of the natural flow, areas where gravitational interactions or early clumping create space for future evolution. You feel the patience inherent in this process, the quiet unfolding of a structure that will, over millions of years, cradle planets, asteroids, and comets in their carefully guided orbits. The disk hums softly with energy, a vibration you can feel more than see. Thermal currents move through the gas, subtle shocks ripple through dust clumps, and even magnetic forces leave faint imprints on the spiraling material. You sense this symphony of quiet interactions, each playing its part in the slow orchestration of a young star system. It is a meditation in balance, a gentle reminder that creation is both patient and purposeful. Even as you watch, larger clumps begin to emerge from the swirling dust. They move slowly, accumulating mass as they follow their circular paths, responding to the gentle tug of gravity from both the star and neighboring particles. You feel a quiet awe at this early stage of planetary formation, recognizing that these small beginnings will one day give rise to worlds, each with its own story yet unwritten. The outer regions of the disk are cooler and more diffuse. You notice that particles here drift lazily, occasionally nudged by subtle currents of wind or light pressure. This calm outer edge provides a gentle buffer, a quiet space where material can circulate before eventually migrating inward or aggregating into new structures. You sense the elegance of this layered system, the way inner and outer regions cooperate in a slow, meditative dance. Light from the central star illuminates the disk from within, creating gradients of warmth and brightness. You notice how these gradients influence the motion of particles, guiding their spirals and clumps with gentle, consistent energy. Even temperature variations play a role in shaping the structure, a subtle force that participates in the ongoing choreography. You feel the serenity in observing these influences, aware that creation often unfolds in quiet, gradual steps rather than dramatic bursts. You notice the connection between the disk and the stellar winds that flow outward. Some particles are nudged gently, slightly shifting their paths, while others are nudged into spirals that will persist for millions of years. The winds, the light, and the rotation all work together, a meditative ensemble shaping both the immediate environment and the long-term evolution of the system. You feel a profound sense of harmony in this interaction, a quiet affirmation that forces in space often work in collaboration rather than opposition. And as you float above the spinning disk, watching arcs of dust and streams of gas tracing their paths, you feel the immense potential of what will follow. The stage is set for planets, moons, asteroids, and comets to emerge. You sense the elegance of these beginnings, a quiet ballet in which matter finds its rhythm and the star at the center prepares to illuminate a miniature cosmos of its own. You float among the swirling clouds of the nebula, feeling the slow, deliberate motion of gas and dust as it drifts in flowing currents. Each particle follows a path shaped by gravity, radiation, and the faint push of stellar winds. You sense that time itself moves differently here, stretched and folded by the gentle hand of cosmic forces. Moments seem to elongate, allowing you to notice the patient elegance with which matter navigates its environment. The disk around the young star spins quietly, a stable platform amidst flowing tides. You watch as streams of gas spiral inward, carried by pressure differences and subtle turbulence, while other streams are pushed outward by radiation pressure and winds. There is a delicate balance, a meditative interplay in which energy and matter negotiate their positions. You sense the harmony in this process, the way change occurs not abruptly, but with calm persistence. Dust grains drift in these currents, sometimes clustering, sometimes dispersing, tracing the invisible contours of the nebula. You notice that even the smallest particle participates in shaping the environment, nudged by larger structures, yet also influencing them in return. There is a quiet poetry in this mutual influence, a reminder that every part of the system, no matter how tiny, plays a role in the overall rhythm of creation. You sense the gentle pull of gravity as it draws particles together, forming slight clumps that ripple across the disk. These clumps move slowly, influenced by the rotation of the disk and the outward push of radiation. You feel a soft tension in the system, a meditative tug-of-war that guides matter toward paths of stability without forcing it abruptly. Each motion is deliberate, each shift a quiet note in the ongoing symphony of the nebula. Time seems to stretch as you observe the interplay of forces. Currents twist and fold, eddies form, and particles follow paths that may take millions of years to settle fully. You feel the patient hand of the universe, shaping structures gradually, allowing complexity to emerge naturally. Even the slowest drift carries intention, a gentle progression toward equilibrium. You sense that the universe has its own rhythm, a quiet cadence that invites you to breathe along with it. Streams of gas respond to radiation in subtle ways. Some are heated and rise gently, forming wisps that spiral outward. Others remain cooler, flowing inward to join denser regions. You notice how these temperature differences influence the paths of particles, guiding them into arcs and filaments. You feel the elegance in these variations, the way gentle differences in energy create patterns that may one day define planets, rings, and other cosmic structures. You notice collisions between dust grains and small clumps, each interaction slow, deliberate, and significant. Some particles stick together, forming slightly larger bodies. Others bounce away, altering their trajectory. You sense that these tiny, meditative interactions are essential, a quiet accumulation of potential that will unfold into complexity over millennia. Each collision, though gentle, carries profound implications for the evolution of the star system. The flow of matter carries subtle energy, transmitted through collisions, radiation, and magnetic forces. You feel this energy as a soft hum, a vibration that resonates through the nebula. It is a meditation in motion, a gentle reminder that even in seeming stillness, forces are at work, shaping the environment with quiet persistence. Every swirl, eddy, and current contributes to the gradual emergence of structure. You notice the outer edges of the disk responding to these flows. Gas and dust are gently pushed outward, forming faint spirals and wisps. These movements are subtle yet deliberate, carrying material into regions where it may later coalesce into new structures. You sense that the tides of time and matter are patient teachers, guiding particles along paths that will eventually define the architecture of planets and moons. Light interacts with these currents, illuminating their shapes and highlighting the subtle spirals and arcs. Shadows stretch across the nebula, revealing hidden pockets where matter collects. You feel the quiet beauty in this interplay of illumination and motion, the meditative rhythm of energy shaping space. Even in darkness, you sense the ongoing dialogue between light and matter, a soft, persistent force shaping the environment. You drift alongside one gentle eddy, noticing how small clumps are slowly drawn together, merging as they follow curved paths. Each combination increases density, creating potential seeds for future planetary bodies. You feel the patience inherent in this process, the way time allows matter to settle gradually into stable forms, avoiding abrupt collapse while permitting slow accumulation. There is a quiet meditation in this balance, a subtle harmony between growth and restraint. The inner regions of the disk feel slightly warmer, influenced by the star's radiation. You notice how this warmth alters the motion of particles, causing gentle expansions and contractions that ripple outward. You sense the delicate choreography at work, a meditative layering of forces that maintain stability while allowing gradual change. Even the slightest variations carry significance, shaping the disk and preparing it for future evolution. Stellar winds continue to flow, interacting with currents and filaments. You watch as the gentle push of particles shapes edges, creates channels, and carves subtle pathways. Dust follows these nudges, forming arcs and spirals that will persist for eons. You feel a profound calm in observing this, aware that every particle, every stream, participates willingly in the slow dance of creation. And as you float among these flowing tides, you sense the patient hand of time stretching across space, folding matter into gentle forms, guiding energy in soft currents, and shaping the nebula with quiet deliberation. Every swirl and eddy carries a story, a meditation on growth, patience, and balance, preparing the stage for the next chapter of stellar evolution. You drift gently through the nebula, noticing the soft contrasts between regions of shadow and faint illumination. Some clouds of dust and gas cling together, dense and opaque, hiding what lies within. Others catch the stars' first glow, shimmering faintly, revealing their delicate structures. You feel the quiet balance in these contrasts, the way darkness and light coexist, each giving meaning to the other. Shadows are not empty, they are protective and patient, waiting for the subtle touch of energy that will eventually awaken them. Light moves slowly through the denser regions, bending and scattering around tiny dust grains. You observe the gentle way it glides along the edges of clouds, illuminating contours and tracing soft spirals. There is a meditative rhythm in this interplay. Light highlights, shadows soften, and the nebula seems to breathe in a quiet, steady pulse. You sense the patience of the universe, the calm unfolding of structures, and the gentle negotiation between visibility and concealment. The darker pockets feel almost secretive. You notice how matter is tucked into these shadows, sheltered from the star's early warmth and the push of radiation. These regions seem still, yet you sense quiet motion within, small currents of gas, gentle shifts in dust, subtle rotations that hint at future activity. You feel a meditative calm as you drift past them, aware that even hidden regions are alive with potential. In the areas where light glimmers, dust grains sparkle softly, reflecting faint rays across the surrounding clouds. You notice how these tiny reflections trace paths, creating delicate patterns of glow that wind through the nebula. Each point of light seems to tell a story, a whisper of energy, a gentle reminder that illumination travels patiently, revealing detail over time. You feel enveloped in this soft radiance, carried along by the gentle pulse of light and matter. The interplay between shadows and glow is dynamic. Light stretches into the dark areas, slowly revealing shapes, while dense clouds block and diffuse, creating soft gradients and contours. You sense the quiet negotiation between visibility and concealment, the way the nebula adjusts gracefully to energy passing through it. Each shift, each soft highlight, contributes to a meditative pattern that is both soothing and profound. You drift along one shadowed corridor, noticing the subtle variations within it. Some areas are completely opaque, holding dust tightly in their embrace. Others allow faint rays to penetrate, creating soft pinpoints of illumination that hint at the structures beneath. You feel a sense of calm curiosity, following these delicate lines of light as they meander through the dark, exploring textures and densities you might otherwise overlook. In the glow, subtle filaments of gas appear, tracing flowing patterns that stretch outward. You notice their gentle motion, curling and twisting in response to radiation, gravity, and the whispers of stellar wind. The light illuminates these flows in soft arcs, highlighting the meditative dance of matter in the nebula. You sense the patient rhythm here. Motion is slow, deliberate, and inherently peaceful, a quiet choreography that will guide future star and planet formation. Some regions glow faintly because they are more exposed to the star's early radiation. You notice the gentle warming, the way heat interacts with dust and gas, changing their structure over time. Shadows, meanwhile, remain cooler, more still, preserving material for the long journey ahead. You feel a meditative understanding of this balance, recognizing that both bright and shadowed regions are necessary to create harmony and order within the nebula. The edges of shadows are particularly fascinating. Light bends softly along their contours, creating gradients that are neither fully dark nor fully illuminated. You notice the quiet beauty in this subtle transition, a meditative reminder that change is rarely abrupt in the cosmos. Gradual shifts, gentle blending, and patient adjustment guide the evolution of matter and energy, shaping the nebula in ways both visible and hidden. You follow a faint glow stretching across a dense region, tracing the path of light as it curves around obstacles. Tiny dust grains reflect and scatter this illumination, creating a delicate shimmer that moves like ripples on water. Shadows shift in response, elongating, softening, and retreating as light spreads. You sense a calm rhythm here, the slow, measured interaction of forces that gives rise to complexity without rush or tension. Some shadows are punctuated with faint, sparkling points, protostars or dense clumps that catch stray photons. You notice how even these tiny glimmers play a role in the meditative balance of the nebula. They provide hints of future energy, a quiet promise of light that will grow in time. You feel comforted by this interplay, understanding that creation unfolds gradually, patiently, and in balance. Light and shadow together form a pattern that is both gentle and instructive. Dark regions shelter potential, while illuminated paths guide energy and growth. You notice the ebb and flow, the subtle breathing of the nebula as energy interacts with matter. It is a meditation in contrast, a calm lesson in the necessity of both concealment and exposure for creation to flourish. As you drift through these contrasts, you notice the emerging shapes and arcs sculpted by the slow push of radiation, stellar winds, and gravity. Some clouds curl gently, forming spirals. Others remain compact, dark, and quiet. The nebula appears alive with intention, responding to energy in a measured, patient rhythm. You feel the meditative quality of this interplay, aware that both light and shadow are essential participants in the story of star formation. You sense that every illuminated filament and hidden shadow contributes to the larger architecture of the nebula. Each plays a role in shaping future stars, disks, and planetary systems. There is a quiet harmony here, a meditative balance between exposure and concealment, activity and stillness, light and dark. You feel wrapped in this gentle rhythm, carried along by the slow pulse of cosmic creation. You float gently within the nebula, feeling the subtle vibrations of particles as if the clouds themselves are humming a quiet tune. Dust grains vibrate in response to thermal energy, gas ripples with gentle motion, and the faint currents of stellar wind add their soft voice. It is not sound in the way your ears perceive it, but a resonance you feel in your mind, a gentle pulse that connects you to the heart of creation. The nebula sings, slowly, patiently, weaving the motions of matter and energy into a meditative song. Each particle contributes to the melody. Tiny grains of dust oscillate slightly as light passes through or reflects off them, sending delicate harmonics through surrounding clouds. Gas molecules drift, colliding softly, adding subtle rhythms to the overall vibration. Even seemingly still regions participate, holding potential energy that resonates like a quiet note waiting to be played. You sense that the nebula's song is both vast and intimate, carrying the memory of countless interactions while guiding the future evolution of stars and planets. The currents of gas and dust flow in gentle arcs and spirals, their movements synchronized by gravity and the central star's influence. You notice that these motions create repeating patterns, a rhythmic foundation for the song. Every swirl, eddy, and spiral contributes a soft, ongoing beat, a meditative cadence that stretches across space. You feel yourself becoming part of this rhythm, drifting in harmony with the nebula's pulse, breathing in time with its slow, deliberate flow. Light interacts with this chorus. Rays from the central star illuminate particles, causing them to vibrate and shimmer, adding a delicate brightness to the melody. You follow the soft glow, noticing how illumination creates contrasts and emphasizes movement, highlighting arcs and filaments in the swirling clouds. The interplay between light and matter enriches the song, a subtle, meditative symphony where every shimmer contributes to the grand resonance of the nebula. You drift through denser regions, where vibrations are slower, softer, almost hidden beneath layers of dust. These areas act as bass notes in the song, grounding the higher, more delicate harmonics that ripple through lighter, more transparent clouds. You sense the complexity of the nebula's music, how variations in density and temperature create a meditative layering of tones, harmonizing into a single, flowing composition. Even in darkness, the song continues, persistent and calm, carrying energy across the vast space. The nebula responds to its own energy. Currents adjust as gas and dust collide, forming spirals, filaments, and pockets of density that oscillate gently. You notice how these interactions create repeating motifs, rhythms that echo through the clouds like a cosmic refrain. You feel the serenity of this process, the quiet unfolding of patterns that will guide star formation, planet formation, and the organization of matter on a scale that spans light years. Every subtle motion contributes to the meditative music of creation. You notice the gentle hum of stellar winds threading through the nebula. These streams of particles add a soft undercurrent to the song, shaping filaments and arcs as they flow. Dust and gas respond, bending and twisting in gentle synchronization, their motion adding dynamic variation to the otherwise steady rhythm. You feel a calm awe at the elegance of this interaction, the way seemingly invisible forces participate in an intricate, slow-moving symphony that will shape entire solar systems. Even temperature differences contribute to the melody. Warmer regions expand and ripple, adding soft vibrato, while cooler pockets hold their tone steady, creating contrast and stability. You notice how these variations guide matter in subtle ways, helping shape the paths of particles and clumps, influencing the formation of disks and eventual planets. The song of the nebula is therefore not merely aesthetic, it is functional, carrying energy, motion, and information that will orchestrate the next stages of stellar birth. You sense the interconnectivity of everything in this space. Filaments stretch outward, connecting clumps of dust and gas, transmitting subtle vibrations across vast distances. You feel the gentle resonance passing from one region to another, a quiet communication that binds the nebula together as a single, meditative entity. Every particle is both contributor and receiver, participating in a harmonious exchange that will endure for millennia. You drift above a glowing spiral, watching dust and gas twirl in perfect, patient arcs. Each rotation contributes a note to the overarching song, a soft, continuous vibration that fills the nebula with subtle music. You notice how these gentle movements create layers of rhythm, some rising, some falling, all contributing to the meditative pulse that will guide the evolution of the star system. You feel immersed in this cosmic symphony, aware that your mind is aligned with the patient cadence of creation. Small clumps within the nebula vibrate more distinctly, adding higher harmonics to the melody. They rotate, collide gently, and oscillate with the energy around them, creating subtle variations that echo through the surrounding clouds. You sense that these are early movements of nascent stars, each beginning to contribute its own voice to the song. The nebula sings not only for itself but for the stars that will emerge, for the planets yet to be born, and for the energy that will ripple outward across space. Light continues to flow through, scattering across filaments and edges, highlighting arcs and channels in gentle hues. You notice how illumination changes the resonance, amplifying some vibrations while softening others. The nebula's song is therefore alive, dynamic, and meditative, a living composition shaped by every particle, flow, and ray of light. You feel both small and infinite within this resonance, a listener and a participant in the quiet harmony of creation. As you drift further, you sense the song reaching its subtle climax, currents aligning, filaments harmonizing, and vibrations resonating across the nebula in unison. The energy is calm, rhythmic, meditative, carrying the promise of future stars rising, disks forming, and matter coalescing. You feel a gentle, enveloping peace, as if the universe itself is breathing softly, singing a lullaby that will endure across time and space. You float gently above the nebula, watching as the protostars begin to shimmer more brightly. Their cores, once hidden in dense clouds, now radiate a quiet warmth, a subtle glow that hints at the energy building within. You feel the meditative pull of this transition, the way hidden potential slowly emerges into visible light. It is a gentle awakening, a calm and deliberate unfolding, as though the universe itself is breathing softly and beginning a new day. The nebula releases its grasp on these young stars, the surrounding gas and dust drifting outward in gentle currents. You notice how the balance between gravitational pull and radiation pressure shapes these flows, guiding material without force, allowing the protostars to step into their luminous presence with patience and care. There is a serene rhythm to this liberation, a soft cadence that mirrors the slow unfolding of life itself. Light begins to seep outward from the protostars, initially faint, almost imperceptible. You focus on these subtle rays, noticing the way they scatter across nearby dust, illuminating filaments in gentle arcs. Each photon carries energy, a whisper of the star's growing power. You feel the calmness of this process, the slow accumulation of warmth and radiance, as if the universe is nurturing its own creations with deliberate tenderness. The cores continue to contract, pressure building quietly at the heart of each protostar. Hydrogen begins to ignite subtly, fusion stirring with a soft hum that resonates through surrounding gas. You feel this energy not as heat alone but as a gentle vibration, a meditative pulse that carries both tension and promise. It is the first hint of the star's independent life, a quiet song rising from within, waiting to emerge fully. Surrounding disks respond to this increase in energy. Dust and gas ripple softly, pushed by light and radiation from the protostar. You notice how these ripples trace delicate spirals, small arcs of motion that echo the slow spin of the disk. The interactions are gentle yet purposeful, shaping the environment around the young star in subtle patterns that will guide planetary formation. You feel the calm precision of these movements, each particle responding to the growing glow with quiet cooperation. You notice the interplay between light and shadow becoming more pronounced. Dense clouds cast long, soft shadows across illuminated regions, creating a meditative contrast. Shadows no longer obscure entirely but highlight the contours of space, emphasizing the emergence of radiance from darkness. You sense the poetry in this transition, the delicate balance between concealment and revelation, each particle participating in the unfolding story of creation. The glow gradually intensifies, soft yet persistent, pushing outward through the nebula. You follow the expanding light, watching as it brushes against nearby filaments, tracing their arcs and spirals with gentle warmth. Each illuminated path feels like a whisper of encouragement, a soft guidance for the matter around it, shaping flows and currents, and subtly influencing the trajectory of dust, gas, and clumps yet to consolidate. Some protostars pulse faintly as they begin to stabilize their fusion processes. You sense the rhythm of these pulses, a slow, meditative heartbeat that resonates through the nebula. Each pulse carries a small energy ripple, nudging nearby particles into alignment, guiding the local structure of the surrounding clouds. You feel the calm authority of these young stars, their energy assertive yet gentle, shaping space without haste. Light interacts with scattered dust, creating faint reflections that shimmer like tiny, floating gems. You drift among these points of illumination, noticing the interplay of angles, intensity, and movement. Each glimmer is transient yet meaningful, a meditative reminder that even subtle light can leave lasting impressions. You feel carried along by this soft radiance, floating calmly through a scene of creation unfolding with quiet elegance. The surrounding nebula begins to thin in some areas, swept gently by radiation and stellar winds. You notice the contrast forming between the cleared regions and lingering clouds, a meditative pattern of openness and density. This thinning allows the glow of the protostars to shine more clearly, revealing the contours of their disks, the gentle spirals of matter, and the delicate structures emerging around them. You sense the universe's quiet satisfaction in this release, a patient step toward maturity. You watch as multiple protostars in the cluster begin their glow simultaneously, each contributing to the soft illumination of the region. The nebula hums with energy, a calm chorus of light and motion. You feel the meditative symmetry here. Each star grows quietly, affecting and responding to its neighbors, shaping the cluster as a gentle, interconnected system. The sense of shared emergence adds depth to your understanding, revealing the communal rhythm of star birth. Time feels slow as you observe the transformation. What was once hidden within dense, opaque clouds now emerges in delicate brightness, a soft dawn within the nebula. You notice the subtle expansion of energy, the patient stabilization of fusion, and the gentle shaping of surrounding matter. Each process unfolds in quiet meditation, a reminder that the birth of a star is not abrupt but a slow, deliberate act of cosmic patience. And as the glow strengthens, a soft warmth spreads through the nebula, illuminating filaments, disks, and clouds alike. You feel the gentle promise of fully formed stars on the horizon, ready to shine independently, casting their energy outward and influencing the cosmic stage around them. The first hints of dawn ripple across space, a quiet celebration of emergence, potential, and life in its most patient form. You drift closer to the protostar, feeling the gentle intensification of energy at its core. Deep within, hydrogen nuclei are colliding, fusing into helium, releasing light and heat in a slow, deliberate symphony. This is the first true breath of the star, a quiet ignition that spreads warmth outward like a soft ripple across still water. You sense the profound transformation. What was potential now becomes real, tangible energy radiating steadily through space. The glow of the star begins to permeate the surrounding nebula. Light spreads gradually, illuminating filaments, arcs, and wisps of dust, revealing intricate patterns that were once hidden in shadow. You notice how each photon travels patiently, scattering gently across the cloud, imparting energy, warmth, and subtle motion. The nebula itself responds, its edges illuminated in soft colors, a quiet testament to the power now being released at the star's heart. You observe the balance between fusion energy and gravity. The star is no longer just a dense core. It has become a living source of radiance, its outward pressure perfectly matched by the inward pull of gravity. This equilibrium is delicate, almost meditative, a gentle tug-of-war that has lasted millennia in formation and will continue for millions of years. You feel the calm stability, the assurance that the universe has reached another moment of patient harmony. Around the star, the surrounding disk shimmers faintly under the newly born light. Dust and gas catch the illumination, tracing their circular paths in gentle arcs. You drift among them, noting how light interacts with matter. Some photons are absorbed, warming the particles slightly. Others are reflected, creating soft glimmers that dance across the cloud. It is a slow, hypnotic ballet of energy and motion, a cosmic meditation that stretches across distances too vast to measure in human terms. The star's radiation begins to push outward, gentle yet persistent, carving channels through nearby gas. You notice how this energy shapes the nebula, sweeping aside lighter particles, compressing denser regions, and creating subtle contrasts of light and shadow. You sense the quiet power of this process, not destructive but formative, a slow sculpting of space itself. Light becomes both a messenger and a tool, guiding matter into patterns that will persist long after the glow reaches you. You follow rays of light stretching across the nebula. Each one travels patiently, moving through dusty clouds, scattering in tiny bursts, reflecting from distant filaments. You sense the meditative rhythm of photons, their long journey from the star to the far reaches of space, carrying not only energy but the story of creation. Every beam becomes a gentle illumination, a soft bridge between the newborn star and the universe beyond. The temperature of the surrounding nebula begins to rise subtly. You feel the warmth in the gentle radiation, a soft energy that encourages motion without rushing it. Gas expands slightly, dust grains shift imperceptibly, and filaments of matter adjust to the gentle pressure. The light does not merely illuminate, it participates in the ongoing choreography of the nebula, guiding flows, stabilizing disks, and nurturing the gradual growth of structures that may one day host planets. As the star shines steadily, you notice the interplay of shadows growing more intricate. Dense pockets of dust resist full illumination, creating a delicate lattice of light and dark. You float among these contrasts, appreciating the calm beauty of their coexistence. Every shadow accentuates the glow, every illuminated path highlights hidden structures, creating a meditative balance that is essential to the ongoing story of the nebula. Some filaments catch the star's light at oblique angles, shimmering faintly, tracing winding paths through space. You follow these gentle arcs, noting how illumination enhances subtle movements, highlighting the rotations of clumps and disks. There is a quiet poetry here, a rhythm of soft energy interacting with matter, revealing structure without force, encouraging growth without urgency. You feel part of this meditative dance, a silent observer carried along by gentle currents of light and warmth. Light begins to escape more freely as surrounding gas thins. You notice faint beams reaching the outer edges of the nebula, scattering softly into distant space. These first photons are messengers, traveling across light years, carrying with them a story of beginnings and transformation. You sense the serenity in this transmission, the calm persistence of light as it journeys, touching other clouds, influencing distant regions, whispering the quiet message that creation continues. You drift alongside a stream of reflected light, noticing how it highlights tiny clumps of dust, accentuating their curvature and subtle motions. You feel the meditative quality of these reflections, the way illumination coaxes shape from chaos, revealing patterns that might otherwise go unnoticed. Every glimmer is gentle, deliberate, a reminder that energy moves with patience, shaping the universe in soft, incremental steps. The star's glow now defines its surroundings. Disks rotate, filaments flow, and shadows shift in response to the gentle, persistent light. You notice how the nebula itself seems to inhale and exhale with each pulse of radiation, adjusting slowly, meditating in motion. The birth of light has not only illuminated space but has become a formative influence, guiding matter, shaping flows, and fostering a calm, deliberate evolution of structure. Time seems elongated here. You drift in the gentle brilliance of the newborn star, sensing the quiet continuity of energy and matter. This is a beginning without urgency, a slow, meditative awakening of light, a soft pulse that stretches across space and resonates within the nebula. You feel the calm, expansive energy, the soft assurance that this star will shine steadily for millions of years, shaping its environment in patient, graceful harmony. And as the radiance spreads further, touching every filament, disk, and cloud, you sense the universe breathing softly along with it, a quiet hymn of illumination, persistence, and meditative presence. The star has claimed its voice, and with it, the nebula begins to understand the gentle power of its own transformation. You float gently among the delicate filaments of the nebula, noticing the soft glow as starlight encounters tiny dust grains. Each particle catches a photon and reflects it in a subtle, shimmering arc. You observe how the scattered light traces gentle paths across clouds, illuminating edges and contours that were once hidden. There is a meditative quality in this scattering, a quiet rhythm that reminds you that even the smallest components contribute to the universe's beauty. The dust grains seem to vibrate subtly as light passes through them, creating a faint resonance that spreads across nearby particles. You sense the nebula itself responding, adjusting softly to the presence of light. Shadows deepen in some regions, while others shimmer with faint illumination. This interplay is slow, delicate, and serene, a dance of energy and matter that unfolds over countless heartbeats of the cosmos. Some filaments appear to glow brighter than others, their density catching more photons. You drift along these luminous threads, noting how reflection and scattering create intricate patterns across the nebula. Light moves in waves, bouncing gently, tracing arcs and spirals, revealing textures previously hidden in shadow. You feel immersed in a meditative tapestry, carried along by the soft interplay of radiance and darkened space. Dust in the nebula is not passive. Each grain participates in this gentle symphony, rotating, spinning, and aligning slightly as it interacts with light and nearby gas. You notice how these subtle movements amplify or soften reflections, adding depth to the illuminated scene. Even what seems still is alive with potential, quietly influencing the path of photons and the unfolding patterns of the surrounding clouds. Light interacts differently depending on the size and composition of each grain. Some reflect vividly, producing faint glimmers that sparkle in the nebula's depths. Others absorb more energy, warming slightly and contributing to gentle flows of thermal motion. You sense that every interaction matters. Nothing is wasted. Every particle, every reflection, contributes to the ongoing story of creation. You notice streams of reflected light weaving between dense clouds. These tiny threads illuminate swirling gas, highlighting soft arcs and spirals. You follow them slowly, tracing their paths like gentle rivers flowing through the cosmic landscape. Each reflection carries a subtle energy, nudging particles, encouraging gentle motion, and whispering the ongoing narrative of formation and transformation. The nebula seems alive with these soft reflections. Light bends, scatters, and glimmers in countless directions, creating a calm, immersive environment. You feel the meditative effect of watching this slow interplay, noticing that no two reflections are identical. Each one is fleeting yet meaningful, a quiet demonstration of how complexity arises naturally from simple, patient interactions. You drift above a particularly dense clump of dust. Light from the young star penetrates its outer layers, scattering in soft glows that illuminate inner folds of the cloud. Shadows provide contrast, accentuating curves and subtle textures. You sense a quiet lesson in this. Illumination and obscurity together reveal depth and form, showing how even subtle contrasts carry significance. Reflections ripple outward, reaching distant portions of the nebula. Dust grains far from the star catch stray photons, creating faint, ephemeral glimmers. You follow their paths and notice how even minimal light affects motion. Particles warm, currents shift, and clouds adjust imperceptibly. The meditative quality of this interaction is profound, revealing a universe that communicates through subtle gestures, not abrupt forces. The scattering of light creates a gentle palette of color across the nebula. Blues, soft whites, and hints of amber shimmer as light bends and refracts. You feel carried along by this subtle spectrum, noticing how color adds depth and emotional resonance to the meditative scene. Even in slow, calm moments, the universe expresses itself, a quiet demonstration of beauty intertwined with physics. You notice that shadows are just as important as reflections. Dense regions block direct light, creating calm pockets where particles rest in cool stillness. These shadows allow delicate structures to emerge gradually, emphasizing the illuminated patterns that surround them. You sense a balance here. The nebula's story depends on both light and darkness, movement and stillness, reflection and concealment. As you drift further, faint glimmers appear in unexpected places. Tiny dust clumps reflect scattered light, creating a soft network of illumination that connects distant regions of the nebula. You feel a sense of interconnectedness, as if every particle and every photon participates in a shared rhythm. The nebula hums quietly, a meditative chorus that stretches across vast distances, both intricate and serene. The glow of reflected light also interacts with the protostars nearby. Disks shimmer in response, highlighting subtle arcs, spirals, and flows. You sense the meditative influence of these reflections. Light guides matter gently, shaping disks, filaments, and clumps over time. The nebula is not static. It adjusts, responds, and coexists in harmonious motion with the radiance now surrounding it. Even in regions that seem faint and distant, light persists. Photons travel slowly through scattered clouds, carrying energy, warmth, and the quiet story of the star's birth. You feel the patience inherent in this process. Nothing rushes, nothing is wasted, and every interaction contributes to the meditative rhythm of creation. Each reflection is a gentle whisper of cosmic persistence. The nebula's reflection patterns shift subtly as new light emerges from the growing stars. You watch as dust grains rotate, currents ripple, and faint glimmers move along soft arcs. There is a calming meditation in following these motions, a gentle awareness that every photon, every particle, participates in a slow, deliberate orchestration of energy and matter. You drift gently above the spinning disk around a newborn star, observing the subtle accumulation of dust and gas. Particles trace slow, spiraling paths, occasionally colliding, merging, and shifting in response to gravity and gentle pressure from light. Each motion is deliberate, meditative, a quiet choreography that will guide the eventual formation of planets. You sense the patience inherent in these movements, understanding that creation unfolds over countless eons. Tiny grains of dust move in synchrony, forming clusters that grow gradually over time. You watch as collisions between these clumps are not violent but gentle, allowing particles to stick together, forming larger aggregates. There is a calm rhythm in this process, an almost musical quality in the way motion, gravity, and gentle energy interact. You feel connected to this quiet assembly, as though witnessing a cosmic ballet in slow motion. The disk itself pulses subtly with the energy of the young star. Radiation pressure nudges material outward, while gravity pulls it inward. These opposing forces create a delicate balance, encouraging matter to find its proper path. You sense the meditative patience here. Every particle learns its place through gentle interactions, no step rushed, no collision wasted. The disk is alive with quiet purpose, each motion contributing to the future shape of worlds. Gas flows around the forming clumps, swirling softly in the spaces between denser regions. You drift along these currents, noting how gas both cushions and guides the motion of particles. In these gentle streams, small clumps gather additional material, their mass increasing slowly. You feel the serenity of this process, the meditative rhythm of accumulation, as matter aligns itself to create the foundations of future planets. You notice that not all collisions lead to growth. Some are soft rebounds, small adjustments in trajectory, subtle nudges that refine the orbital paths of emerging bodies. You sense the quiet intelligence of the nebula, the way simple physics leads to organized structure without haste or force. Every motion has meaning, contributing to the meditative orchestration of matter within the disk. As larger clumps form, their gravitational pull grows stronger. You observe how nearby particles begin to curve toward these developing centers, tracing gentle arcs as they join the growing mass. Each orbit is stable yet dynamic, a soft dance that combines both freedom and influence. You feel the quiet patience of this cosmic rhythm, understanding that planets will emerge slowly, over countless millennia, from these subtle, persistent motions. You follow a clump that is beginning to dominate a region of the disk. Particles spiral around it in calm, orderly paths, some merging, some deflecting. The energy of the star radiates outward, gently influencing trajectories and preventing chaotic collisions. You sense the meditative precision of this environment, where growth is gradual, harmonious, and balanced with surrounding flows. Even tiny grains contribute to the story, leaving traces that will shape the final form of these worlds. The disk exhibits faint spirals and density waves, patterns that guide the accumulation of matter. You float along one of these arcs, noticing how material flows like a slow river, converging at certain points while meandering around others. These subtle structures are the fingerprints of the star's gravity and radiation, a meditative reminder that order emerges naturally from interactions, energy, and patience. As dust and gas coalesce, temperature differences begin to emerge. Denser clumps heat slightly as they compress, radiating faint energy into surrounding material. You feel the gentle warmth in these regions, noting how it nudges nearby particles into new orbits or soft collisions. Even this thermal effect is calm, meditative, part of the ongoing orchestration of matter that will eventually define planetary systems. You observe small, icy grains far from the star, drifting slowly, yet participating in the gentle dance. Their collisions and mergers are quieter, yet no less important. You sense that every region of the disk contributes to the eventual diversity of planets, rocky, gaseous, or icy, and that even distant particles carry memories of the nebula, influencing the chemical and structural character of the worlds to come. Occasionally, a larger body forms and begins shepherding nearby material. You watch as its gravity subtly redirects smaller clumps, creating calm lanes of motion. Some particles are absorbed, others deflected into different orbits, each interaction shaping the overall architecture of the disk. You sense the patient intelligence of these interactions, a quiet guidance that ensures order emerges from what initially seemed chaotic. You notice the interplay of light and shadow across the disk. Rays from the star illuminate clumps and arcs, revealing their motion with soft clarity, while shaded regions highlight gentle contrasts. These subtleties help you follow the meditative choreography of accumulation, appreciating both the illuminated and hidden aspects of formation. The disk is alive with movement, guided by forces both seen and unseen, each particle participating in a quiet, deliberate ballet. Time feels suspended as you drift above the disk. The accumulation of matter, the gentle redirection of orbits, and the soft glow of the central star all contribute to a meditative scene. You feel both the vastness of cosmic time and the intimacy of each particle's motion, understanding that the quiet patience of this system will eventually result in fully formed planets, ready to orbit in calm, rhythmic paths. Even in regions that seem sparse, particles continue their slow interactions, colliding occasionally or spiraling gently along subtle arcs. You sense the persistence of these motions, the quiet assurance that matter will continue to gather, evolve, and eventually take shape as distinct worlds. The universe operates with deliberate patience, and you are a silent witness to the meditative processes that nurture creation. And as you drift among the softly spinning arcs of the disk, you begin to notice the faint outlines of several clumps that are destined to become planets. Their paths are slow, deliberate, and harmonious, each orbit a quiet promise that worlds will emerge, guided by the patient rhythm of gravity, radiation, and motion. You drift softly through the nebula, leaving individual disks behind, and notice that stars rarely shine in isolation. Around you, clusters of young stars glimmer together, each one a source of warmth, light, and quiet energy. You sense a subtle rhythm as their gravities interact, pulling gently, influencing motion, and creating a calm, interconnected network. It is as though these stars are conversing without words, their energies entwined in a patient, harmonious dance. The cluster hums with quiet activity. Stellar winds reach across empty spaces, brushing gently against neighboring stars' disks and filaments. You feel the soft tug of influence, subtle yet continuous, as each star shapes its environment while being shaped in return. The effect is gentle, never abrupt, more like the calm pull of a current, guiding without force, nurturing without intrusion. Light from nearby stars mingles in delicate arcs, scattering across dust and gas. You notice how illumination overlaps, creating soft glows and subtle shadows, highlighting both individuality and community. Each star contributes its own radiance to the whole, yet none overpowers the others. You sense the meditative balance here. Together, they create a gentle chorus of light that fills the surrounding nebula with calm, luminous harmony. Gravity plays a quiet, persistent role. Stars pull softly on each other, shaping orbital paths, influencing clusters of dust, and guiding the motions of smaller bodies around them. You drift along one of these gentle tugs, noticing how movement emerges from the interaction of many forces. Each star carries its own momentum and energy, yet remains part of the larger, collective pattern. There is a serene order in this, a patient choreography that allows life to unfold gradually across cosmic space. The nebula around the cluster responds subtly. Gas and dust shift in response to overlapping radiation and gravitational currents, forming filaments and arcs that bridge stars together. You float along one of these threads, feeling the gentle pull of connectivity, the calm assurance that matter and energy are never truly isolated. Even in emptiness, space resonates with shared activity, a meditative reminder that the universe operates as a whole, not as fragments. Occasionally, you notice a more massive star at the center of a cluster. Its light and gravity extend far, influencing younger, smaller stars in quiet ways. You sense the careful balance. The central star's power is strong but measured, its energy radiating softly, encouraging nearby protostars to stabilize and grow. Even dominance here is gentle, a guiding hand rather than a forceful presence, shaping the community with patience and care. Clusters are dynamic yet calm. Stars move slowly relative to one another, tracing arcs over millennia, occasionally brushing past or tugging lightly. You observe the meditative rhythm of these motions, understanding that interactions are subtle but profound, shaping future stellar paths, influencing disk formations, and gently nudging the surrounding nebula. Even the smallest motion contributes to the long-term stability and beauty of the cluster. Light weaves a soft network among these stars. Photons scatter, refract, and reflect across neighboring disks and dust, creating ephemeral glimmers that connect distant points. You feel the meditative quality of this illumination. Each ray carries warmth, energy, and quiet influence, a reminder that even distant stars communicate through gentle means. This interwoven light softens shadows, highlights contours, and strengthens the sense of shared presence within the cluster. You notice the subtle differences among stars. Some shine steadily, others pulse faintly, their rhythms adding texture to the collective hum. You sense that each variation matters, contributing to the richness and balance of the community. Even variability is calm, measured, part of the meditative flow that ensures energy and matter interact harmoniously over vast stretches of time. Stellar winds create a gentle dialogue among stars, pushing and nudging clouds, shaping filaments, and clearing paths in the nebula. You drift through these streams, feeling the persistence of these motions, the quiet negotiation of forces that ensures matter moves gracefully, without abrupt disruption. The cluster functions as a whole, each member contributing to the stability and rhythm of the group while preserving its individuality. You sense that the cluster is alive in a meditative sense. Its energy, motion, and light create a persistent, calm pulse that echoes through surrounding space. Even distant stars feel the subtle resonance, their gravity and radiation quietly influencing, participating in the ongoing dance. You float among them, observing the serene intelligence of collective existence, a harmony born not of command but of natural alignment. Filaments of gas and dust now form gentle bridges between stars, connecting them in visible and invisible ways. You drift along these paths, noticing how light traces the arcs, highlighting the interdependence of each star. Even empty space becomes meaningful, filled with the soft hum of energy, potential, and connection. The nebula itself seems to breathe along with the cluster, expanding and contracting in response to shared forces. You notice small clumps of matter orbiting between stars, influenced by overlapping gravities. Some may eventually form planets, comets, or minor bodies, each shaped by the delicate interaction of forces around multiple stars. You sense the meditative patience required. Nothing rushes, every orbit is slow, deliberate, and purposeful, and the eventual architecture of these worlds will reflect the collective influence of their stellar community. Time seems stretched in the cluster. You drift slowly, noticing subtle changes in illumination, currents of gas, and particle motions. Everything occurs over long periods, yet the meditative rhythm is tangible, almost tactile. You feel the calm presence of creation operating patiently, each star influencing, responding, and harmonizing with its neighbors in a quiet, persistent choreography. And as you float among these gentle lights, the sense of community deepens. No star shines alone. Each one exists in a web of influence, connected by gravity, light, and shared history. You sense that the act of creation is not solitary but communal, and the universe itself is a meditative network of interdependent forces, patiently shaping the cosmos. You drift slowly through the cluster of newborn stars, noticing that the nebula that once nurtured them is beginning to change. Its clouds of gas and dust are thinning, drifting gently outward into space. The dense filaments that once guided matter and nurtured protostars now shimmer faintly, losing their hold. You sense a meditative calm as the nebula prepares to release the stars it has so carefully cradled. The glow of the young stars becomes more pronounced, now that the surrounding material has dispersed. You feel the warmth and light spreading outward, unimpeded, touching spaces that were once hidden behind dense clouds. The nebula seems to exhale, a quiet surrender, allowing its children to shine freely and independently. There is no hurry, no abrupt change, only the gentle progression of time, matter, and energy. Dust and gas drift in slow currents, shaped by stellar winds and radiation pressure. You watch these wisps fade into the void, tracing delicate arcs that glimmer faintly as light from the stars passes through them. Each particle carries a memory of the nebula's past, a record of the nurturing it once provided. You sense that nothing is lost, even as the clouds disperse, their energy and influence linger in subtle, meditative ways. The nebula's farewell is graceful. Its filaments curl softly, stretching outward, thinning, and shimmering in pale light. You float along one of these paths, noticing how each arc of matter moves in gentle rhythm with the surrounding forces. There is a quiet satisfaction here, a calm acknowledgement of purpose fulfilled. The nebula has nurtured life, guided growth, and now lets go, a patient, unhurried release. Light from the stars reflects and scatters across the remaining clouds. You observe faint glimmers dancing along edges and filaments, capturing the final moments of the nebula's presence. The interplay of shadows and illumination is meditative, a soft reminder that even endings carry beauty. You feel the serenity of transition, the quiet understanding that every phase in the universe has its proper time. As the gas disperses, the stars themselves take center stage. You notice their collective glow defining the shape of the cluster, each star distinct yet part of a calm, interwoven community. The nebula's role diminishes, but its influence remains embedded in the disks, dust grains, and emerging planetary material surrounding the stars. You sense that the foundations laid by the nebula will guide the universe's future evolution, even as it retreats from view. You follow a stream of dispersing gas, noticing its gentle interaction with nearby stars. Stellar winds sweep it softly, guiding the particles outward in delicate flows. The nebula does not vanish abruptly. It drifts with patience, fading gradually while leaving behind a legacy of structure, stability, and potential. You feel the meditative quality of this transition, as though the universe itself is breathing slowly, carefully, without rush or strain. Some pockets of denser gas resist dispersal for longer, clinging to the cluster like a last embrace. You drift along these regions, observing how light from nearby stars illuminates them, highlighting their slow fading. You sense a quiet tension in these areas, the gentle balance between persistence and surrender. Eventually, even these remnants will scatter, but for now, they linger in soft, meditative grace. You notice how the nebula's departure affects the surrounding environment. Shadows recede, previously obscured regions are revealed, and the cluster of stars appears more expansive, more independent. You feel the subtle change in perspective. The stars are no longer hidden children of the cloud, but individual sources of light and warmth, free to influence their surroundings in new, patient ways. The farewell is not silent. You sense the gentle hum of shifting gas and scattering dust, the quiet rustle of matter moving through space. It is a soft, meditative sound, almost imperceptible, yet filled with the weight of eons of creation and nurturing. You feel the continuity of this energy, the calm reminder that the universe moves forward without haste, leaving traces of each phase behind. As you drift further, the nebula becomes more translucent, its edges glowing faintly before disappearing completely into the surrounding darkness. You notice the faint arcs of scattered light tracing its memory, connecting it subtly to the stars it once cradled. There is no sadness here, only quiet acknowledgement, a meditative understanding that all nurturing eventually releases its charge, allowing growth and independence to flourish. The stars themselves seem to respond to the absence of the dense cloud. Their radiation spreads freely, illuminating the space around them, shaping remaining filaments, and defining the architecture of the emerging cluster. You sense the meditative balance of forces, energy, matter, gravity, and light adjusting naturally, smoothly, without abrupt transitions. The nebula has completed its role, leaving the stars to shine with calm authority. You follow a faint ribbon of remaining gas, drifting slowly as it disperses into the void. You notice its delicate interaction with nearby dust, the gentle scattering of light, and the persistence of soft glow. This last shimmer carries a message of creation's continuity. Nothing ends abruptly, nothing is wasted, and even as the nebula fades, its essence informs the growth of planets, stars, and cosmic structures. The farewell deepens your sense of cosmic rhythm. You feel the meditative passage of time, the gentle unfolding of creation, and the serene completion of one phase before another begins. You sense that the universe operates in slow, deliberate cycles, each birth, each fade, each release contributing to the calm continuity of everything around you. And as the nebula drifts entirely away, leaving the stars exposed to the vast night, you sense the quiet joy of completion, a calm satisfaction, and the gentle promise of what will emerge next in the endless unfolding of space. You drift quietly beside a young star, watching as its light begins its journey outward into the vast expanse of space. Each photon travels steadily, imperceptibly, moving through emptiness with patient persistence. You feel yourself floating alongside these particles of light, sharing their calm, rhythmic motion as they carry warmth, energy, and the story of creation to distant places. The journey of light is slow and meditative in cosmic terms, yet inexorable. Photons scatter softly when they encounter dust, sometimes reflecting gently, sometimes bending around particles, tracing subtle arcs across clouds and filaments. You observe these interactions like ripples on a calm pond, each movement quiet, deliberate, and connected to the surroundings. Even in vast darkness, light never truly pauses. It continues its journey, persistent and serene. You follow a photon that drifts past a distant, faint nebula. Its path is influenced subtly by gravity, bending slightly around massive stars, weaving through space with a quiet grace. Each deflection is soft, elegant, and slow, an example of the universe's meditative intelligence. You feel a sense of awe at the patience required for light to traverse these immense distances, carrying messages across eons without haste. Light also interacts with tiny particles in interstellar space. Each encounter scatters or reflects energy in subtle ways, adding faint glimmers to the darkness. You notice how even the smallest grains of dust influence the photon's path, creating a delicate, meditative dance. Every interaction matters, no matter how slight, as light spreads its presence across the cosmos, illuminating the unseen and weaving connections between distant stars. You drift further, following rays that have traveled thousands of light-years. Their paths are shaped by both time and space, bending gently around cosmic structures, passing through voids, and occasionally meeting nebulae that refract their glow. You feel the patient rhythm of this journey, a meditative cadence that unfolds slowly yet persistently, a cosmic heartbeat you can almost sense with your awareness. Some photons reach clusters of dust and gas, scattering in gentle patterns. You watch as light illuminates the clouds in soft, shifting hues, revealing contours, folds, and hidden pockets. Even in remote corners of space, light carries information, shaping perception, and slowly altering environments. You sense that nothing in the universe is truly dark, even the faintest glimmer can carry significance, a quiet whisper of energy and presence. The stars themselves participate in this meditative network. Their combined glow interacts with light from neighboring stars, creating subtle overlays of illumination and shadow. You float among these gentle arcs, noticing how light weaves a tapestry across the void, connecting points that seem separate yet a part of a continuous, flowing system. Each ray contributes to a larger narrative, a calm story of energy and influence extending far beyond its origin. You notice that some light is delayed, scattered by clouds or reflected multiple times before continuing. These photons are patient travelers, their journeys long and winding, yet persistent. You feel a sense of reverence for this enduring motion, understanding that light does not hurry, does not compete. It simply moves, carrying warmth, knowledge, and a quiet presence across vast distances. Even as photons encounter cosmic dust, gas, or gravity, their energy remains. You sense the meditative continuity in these interactions. Energy is not lost but redirected, transformed gently, and absorbed slowly by the surrounding environment. Light leaves subtle traces in its wake, shaping temperature, chemistry, and even motion of matter, a gentle influence that ripples through space and time. You follow a faint stream of light stretching toward a distant cluster. Its path winds gracefully, touching interstellar clouds, glimmering along filaments, illuminating edges, and leaving subtle trails behind. You sense the patient persistence inherent in this motion, the quiet determination of energy to reach beyond its point of origin, carrying a message of existence, of warmth, and of creation's continuity. You notice that even in seemingly empty space, light's journey has effects. Cosmic rays, reflected photons, and scattered beams contribute to slow changes, nudging dust, gas, and particles along gentle arcs. You feel the meditative rhythm of these processes, the slow, deliberate shaping of the cosmos by persistent energy, each interaction soft, calm, and patient. Some photons eventually reach regions where new stars are forming. Their arrival adds gentle illumination, warming disks, tracing arcs of motion, and subtly influencing matter. You feel the continuity between past and future, how light from one generation carries energy, knowledge, and guidance to the next. It is a calm reminder that creation is connected across both space and time, in a serene, meditative continuum. Light moves through the universe without haste, yet it reaches far and wide. You drift alongside beams that have traveled for millions of years, noticing how their journey is both slow and infinite. Each photon carries a story, a quiet record of the star that produced it, a gentle messenger moving through the cosmos, spreading warmth, illumination, and the meditative rhythm of existence. Even the faintest glow becomes meaningful. You observe photons that barely illuminate their surroundings, yet their presence is enough to shape motion, temperature, or perception. In this quiet, meditative way, light continues to travel on, persistent, patient, and purposeful, reminding you that energy and influence are never wasted, no matter how subtle. You float in the vast darkness, feeling connected to the persistent journey of light. Every star, every photon, every gentle reflection contributes to a slow, ongoing narrative. You sense that the universe is alive in its own quiet way, each beam of light a calm, enduring thread weaving the story of creation across time and space. You drift through space, following the gentle rhythm of the cosmos, noticing how creation moves in cycles, never truly beginning nor ending. Stars are born, light travels, matter gathers, and eventually, gas and dust return to clouds, ready to nurture new generations. You sense the continuity in all things, a calm, patient rhythm that stretches across vast stretches of time and space, unhurried and deliberate. The stars you have watched now form part of this enduring cycle. Their light reaches distant regions, warming clouds that have yet to condense into new stars. You follow faint arcs of photons, understanding that they carry energy, influence, and guidance for matter yet unborn. Even as stars age, their contributions continue, seeding the universe with potential. You feel a meditative calm knowing that no energy is ever wasted. Every action, every particle, every ray of light contributes to the ongoing story of creation. Nebulae reform slowly, gathering dispersed gas and dust like soft fingers combing through the emptiness of space. You drift among these emerging clouds, observing the subtle accumulation of matter. Some regions thicken more than others, hinting at the gentle seeds of future stars. You sense the patience required for such processes. Nothing is rushed, nothing is hurried. Each swirl of gas, each glimmering particle, plays a quiet role in the unfolding rhythm of creation. You notice how old stars influence this new generation. Stellar winds, radiation, and scattered material shape the surrounding space, creating pockets of density where gravity can act most effectively. You feel the meditative balance of forces, push and pull, light and shadow, creation and return. These interactions are subtle yet profound, guiding the cycle of matter and energy with a quiet wisdom that spans eons. As the nebula thickens, small clumps begin to form, hinting at the slow birth of new stars. You observe the same gentle patterns that you witnessed in previous chapters. Matter gathers, cores form, and a quiet energy builds in readiness for the first flicker of fusion. You feel the resonance of continuity. What has happened before will happen again, in a calm, deliberate echo of cosmic processes. Even planets are part of this endless cycle. Around forming stars, disks collect matter, spinning slowly, gathering material that may one day coalesce into worlds. You follow the paths of tiny grains of dust and ice, noticing how collisions and gentle merging gradually build larger bodies. You sense the meditative patience of this process, the quiet elegance of matter finding its place over vast stretches of time. Light continues its journey throughout the cycle, bridging distances, carrying information, warmth, and influence. You float alongside faint photons, following their paths as they illuminate nebulae, warm disks, and seed the chemical richness of potential planetary systems. Even the faintest glimmer contributes, a patient participant in the ongoing rhythm of creation. You sense the continuity in every photon's path, the quiet persistence of energy traveling through space to nurture future growth. The universe itself seems to breathe in this cycle. Clouds condense, stars ignite, light spreads, matter drifts, and eventually, old stars die, returning material to the surrounding medium. You feel the meditative quality of this ongoing exchange, an eternal dialogue between matter and energy. Even endings are gentle, graceful, and purposeful, a calm release preparing the way for what comes next. You notice the interplay of time within the cycle. Some processes unfold over millions of years, others over billions, yet all are part of the same meditative rhythm. You sense that patience is intrinsic to the cosmos, that slow, deliberate progression allows for harmony, stability, and the nurturing of complexity. Each stage, each transformation, each quiet motion contributes to the endless flow of creation. As stars age and die, they return their material to the cosmos in subtle ways. Stellar winds, planetary nebulae, or supernovae. You float among these remnants, sensing their contribution to future nebulae. You feel the continuity between birth and return, between light and shadow, between matter gathered and matter dispersed. Every action reverberates, every star leaves a legacy that feeds the next chapter of creation. You notice clusters forming and dispersing, stars influencing neighbors, light traveling far and wide, and dust settling into arcs and filaments. Each part of the universe participates in the same meditative cycle, a calm, patient exchange of energy, matter, and information. You feel the rhythm as a gentle pulse beneath the vastness, a slow heartbeat that binds everything together. Even the tiniest particles of dust carry memory. They have been part of countless stars, planets, and nebulae, and they continue their journey, ready to participate in the next wave of creation. You feel a meditative awe at this continuity, the sense that nothing is wasted, nothing lost, and everything has purpose within the endless cycle of existence. You observe the gentle transition from one generation of stars to the next. Light continues to travel, warming nascent nebulae. Dispersed gas gathers into clouds that may one day cradle new stars and planets. Gravity, radiation, and subtle motions guide matter into delicate patterns, setting the stage for creation to begin anew. You sense a soft, calming inevitability in this process, a patient unfolding that stretches beyond comprehension yet feels intimately familiar. And as you drift among these cycles, you notice how the universe itself seems to move with quiet rhythm. There is no rush, no abrupt change, only the calm persistence of energy, matter, and time interacting in meditative harmony. Each stage flows seamlessly into the next, each moment building upon what came before, preparing for what is yet to come. You feel your own breath synchronize with the rhythm of the cosmos, slow and deliberate, in harmony with the gentle unfolding of creation. The endless cycle of birth, light, matter, and return mirrors a calm, meditative pattern, reassuring, comforting, and ever-present. You sense that every star, every particle, and every photon participates in this quiet, eternal dance. And as sleep descends around you like a gentle nebula, you rest in the understanding of the universe's rhythm. Creation flows endlessly, a patient cycle of beginnings and endings, light and shadow, accumulation and release. You feel connected to this meditative process, to the quiet persistence of cosmic time, and to the enduring beauty of the endless cycle that carries all matter, all energy, and all stories forward.